after further review, a Clemson student's perspective on sports.
It's AFR time, baby. Let's get up. Let's get rolling.
That's right.
Personal foul, 69, offense. He was giving them the business. He played it down.
Okay, so if Trevor Lawrence isn't either the second or third string quarterback in the fall, I shave my head and you get a hint of tattoo?
Well, you got to get a head tattoo. You got to shave your
get a head tattoo. Now we're talking.
And get a head tattoo.
And a personal foul on number 99 of the defense. After he tackled the quarterback, he's giving them business down there. That's a 15-yard penalty.
And now your host, Jay, Bradley, and Evan.
Well, good evening, everyone. AFR back on your radio. Thanks so much for spending your Monday evening with us. Jay Smith, Bradley Kendall, Evan McDowell.
Feels good to be back.
So good. Yeah, Bradley's back in the studio with us. Had a case of, strep throat is what you came down with?
Strep throat, yeah, I couldn't make it. Did listen to y'all on the radio, though. It was very interesting listening to the show from my own bed. It was the most comfortable I've ever been during showtime, that's for sure. But, got over that real quick, and I'm back and better than ever.
All right, well, we got a lot to talk about this evening. We are going to have Alex Dodd, student writer from the Clemson Insider, on the program a little bit later and talk with him. Bradley, we got so much to talk about. Even with the offseason, there's always stuff to talk about. So let's dive right into it after further review.
There's a chance that Clemson's number one in not just the polls coming up in 2019 this season. They are number one in another poll as well. But this one's off the field. This one's off the field, and it is a huge, big thing for recruiting. That's for sure.
We're going to talk a little bit of recruiting. Evan, I think we should start, because it was just you and I last week doing the top 25, the way too early top 25. I think we should start with the segment we didn't get to last week, the most valuable college football programs. Lots of stuff's been written about this, and the fact that I believe this year, or this past season, Texas A&M took over the number one spot. It used to be Texas, believe it or not. So the title stays in state, but A&M now, the Aggies, the most valuable college football team. Bradley, are you surprised by that? You think Jimbo brought value to the program, or you think this was just inevitable?
Oh, not at all. A&M's been up there for a while now. I remember going to the game. I believe that weekend they actually took over the top spot from Texas to go into number one. The alumni network out there is insane. A&M's just sitting on a bunch of money out there in Texas, and the football program itself, I mean, look at the stadium. It's one of the biggest in the country, and they are, with the addition of Jimbo, becoming a whole lot better of a program than they were in the past. So even more money is going to be funneling in soon. So A&M, I don't think it's going to be going anywhere for a long, long time.
Well, what criteria are we using just for fun? Because I just did a quick Google to get caught up with y'all here, and I found an article on the Wall Street Journal from this January, so a month and 9 days ago, and it's got Texas at number one in terms of college football value rankings. And it has listed here revenue, 2018 value, and 2017 value. It's got Texas number one, and A&M doesn't appear on the list until number 12 in terms of overall revenue.
That's interesting, because I believe I have a similar article. You said it was from the Wall Street Journal, so I think I have the same article pulled up, and that's part of this larger discussion about how you evaluate the quote-unquote value, because it's such a subjective term. There's so many different
factors. And a lot of times in professional sports, the most valuable team is not the best team. In fact, very rarely very rarely is the best team the most valuable
team.
Clemson.
I mean, Clemson's valued at just, I believe, under $300 million, and obviously the facilities, now they've got the West End Zone, the Reeves building, and then you're about to see the IPTAY building. I think they're going to open that this coming fall. Has definitely increased the value of the program. But by some metrics, I mean, I'm looking at an article by Forbes. They had Texas A&M, and it was based off of the average annual revenue, which for the last 3 years has been $148 million, which is most of any program in the nation.
I think a lot of it determines what conference you're in. That helps a little bit, because the SEC, by and large, has been the top money-making conference across the board in the entire country. So that helps a little bit. The alumni network, I think, is huge. That's where Clemson gets a lot of money from, but A&M's is by far, I think, number one in the country. And the facilities, like you said, Jay, I mean, the stadium's top-notch. The facilities out there are incredible. A lot of it's just kind of location, too. Out in Texas, a lot of money out there, a lot of people, second off, and it's a large school. So you're going to have a lot of that factoring in, and that's probably why they get rated so highly every year.
Well, again, there's so many different metrics and this is part of the point that Evan brought up a second ago, because again, the Wall Street Journal had their own article that they put out, and yes, A&M does clock in at 12 on their list. They've got 101 million in revenues. They had Texas number one at 163 million. So deviating from those two schools from a second, which in either of those lists, which one strikes you as odd or an outlier? I mean, you've got teams like Ohio State, going from the Wall Street Journal's list. You've got Texas at 1, Ohio State's 2, Alabama 3, Michigan 4, Notre Dame 5. Teams like Georgia, Oklahoma, Auburn, LSU, Tennessee in the top 10.
Yeah, I got the Forbes list. Arkansas is at 13. That's a little surprising given the teams that are below them. Teams like Penn State, South Carolina, Georgia, Florida State, USC. Pretty top-notch programs. I think that's probably the biggest discrepancy between on-the-field performance and overall revenue and money-making on the side.
I think it's interesting that in the Forbes list, the first ACC school clocks in at 17, and that's Florida State. You don't see another ACC school in the top 25. And if you look at the Wall Street Journal, their top ACC school is, I'm scrolling through it, is Clemson at 26. They have Florida State at 27.
And on that Forbes list, 10 of the schools in the top 25, SEC schools.
Yeah. So geographical
goes
location.
To show geographical location
now,
and what conference
that
you're in.
That brings up an interesting point. Do you think the dedicated SEC network has helped increase the value of these programs? And do you think that the upcoming ACC network in August that's launching through ESPN is going to increase the value of those programs?
Maybe a bit. I think the SEC was already, by and large, a very profitable conference as it was. So I think the SEC network probably helped. But if you look at the ACC as a whole right now, there's only really 2 schools you can look at that say, okay, these can be extreme money-making schools in the future, Clemson and Florida State. And then it's really, outside of that, a lot of the other schools are either basketball schools or just not big enough yet to be able to devote that much to a big-time college football program. So, yes, I think in the years to come, it could help. You could see another team like Miami emerge if they start becoming a big-time player again. Yeah. But for right now, ACC is a bottom-tier conference in terms of the whole landscape of college
probably,
football.
Evan, is due to the fact that the Coastal isn't helping.
It holds it down.
Yeah.
I don't want to blame everything on the Coastal, though.
Yes, you do.
But it's really easy
I don't.
to.
I actually don't, because I'm still of the opinion that the ACC is not the worst football conference, Coastal included. I think the Pac-12 is significantly worse, and I think that's proven monetarily as well, because if you look at the Pac-12 network, I know just recently they've come out with some of the layoffs that they've had and just the overall lack of money, really, that the Pac-12 network is able to generate. So you talk about the SEC network and how profitable it is and how it boosts kind of the value of the SEC teams and kind of the reputation of the conference itself. The Pac-12 network is having the opposite effect on that. The Pac-12 network is having trouble with people keeping their jobs and having trouble with viewership, and I think that's not good for the Pac-12 because they haven't been real strong in football since 10, 15 years ago when USC Pete Carroll, when they were kind of at their peak. I think that was probably most recently when the Pac-12 was as good as it's been. So what works on one coast and in one area of the country is very obviously not working in the other area of the country.
True, but if you look at the conferences that have a program, quote unquote, SEC, like I said, 10 teams in the top 25 according to Forbes. The Big Ten has 6 teams, so that helps. And the Pac-12's got 3. And the ACC, like I said, only has 1 team in the top 25.
I think another thing you have to. And what's really interesting to me, I'm looking at the Wall Street Journal because they actually, unlike Forbes, the Wall Street Journal posted all 115, I think. I know there's more than 115 teams in the FBS, but they had 115 teams ranked. Georgia Tech was 36. That's above Miami.
That's really surprising.
Is that?
Well, I guess.
How is that?
I guess maybe because the income that comes from a Georgia Tech degree would lead you to donate more money back.
Georgia Tech had $60 million in revenue this past year.
Wow.
In 2018, Georgia Tech clocked in with $60 million revenue. Now, Miami only had $47 million. So program success,
Miami's a small school,
or lack thereof.
Small school, not a lot of success.
Yeah, but they're in an affluent area. Miami.
Very true. But, you look at across the board, basketball, football, baseball, every school, they're not really that good in anything. I mean, Georgia Tech's pretty average in most things, but locationally, Georgia Tech's in a pretty decent spot around a lot of SEC programs.
You know what I think it could be, too, is I don't want to say it's directly related to coaching, but do you think that the longevity of Paul Johnson
that probably helps too?
Helps.
The turmoil around the coaching staff of Miami.
It definitely helps during his tenure, but now.
But Mark Richt's a great coach, and we would expect him to be at Miami for
He was only there for a few years, though. That's the thing. I mean, he's gone now, so that potential for that 5 to 10 year run is now gone.
I don't know. Anything else about these lists kind of strike you as just out of... Because, again, there's some teams... I mean, you've got, obviously South Carolina is 17 in the Wall Street Journal. They brought in $101 million in revenue last year. Forbes has got them ranked 15th overall. So, I mean, top 20 in both. And then other schools, like you mentioned Arkansas... But, I mean, Iowa clocking in top 20 with $100 million in revenue. Surprising.
You look at the majority of these schools outside of maybe a few of those, like you said, with Arkansas and South Carolina, the postseason and preseason polls every single year include the majority of these teams. Just look at the top 10 right now.
Yeah.
Texas A&M, Texas, Michigan, Alabama,
Florida,
Ohio State,
Tennessee,
Oklahoma.
Penn State.
I mean, and once some of these other schools like Florida State and Tennessee creep their way up again, I mean, it's just gonna have a strong correlation between the money you've got in your program and the success you've got on the field.
You know what I find to be really interesting? The only team that's been consistently ranked, we'll say top 15. The only team that's been consistently top 15 for the last 5 years that's not in the top 15 on these lists, you know who it is?
Georgia?
No.
Clemson.
Oh,
well, yeah.
It's Clemson.
Georgia was a terrible guess, Bradley. I'm looking at they're number 6 in the Wall Street Journal.
They're number 16 on this list. I was trying to pick a team. I thought we already included the fact that Clemson was out of the list. I thought he was referring to a different team.
You know what assuming does.
Well, who was I supposed to pick? Georgia, Florida State, USC, Washington, maybe?
Pick whoever you want, but pick somebody that's not
he said top 10 program. He said top 10 team that's not in the top 15 on this list.
You know what?
Georgia's not in the top 15.
Clemson's value, according to the Wall Street Journal,
it's not a bad guess.
In 2017,
could have been better.
And listen, in 2017, Clemson was valued at $328 million. In 2018, they're only valued at $298.
Wow,
a measly $298 million.
Well, relatively,
that's a decrease of
$30 million. Yeah, relatively
spending
speaking.
more money though. I mean, think about it. The amount of money they put into the program that
they still generated $72 million in revenue.
Yeah, I mean, you look at how much they probably charge compared to like the SEC and some of those other big time.
Well, and we've also tried to be more, and I don't know how big of a dent this would put in it, but we have tried to be more fan friendly with our prices and concession stands in the stadium. So we're trying to make things more affordable. So I don't know if that's a number that the Clemson Athletic Department is really.
And you look at the other sports that we're not only subtracting but adding as well. I mean, we're putting, like I said, a lot more money into building a new softball stadium.
Yeah.
We're upgrading the baseball stadium, and Little John even the last few years has been updated a lot. So that probably factors in a bit. I think if you look at this list in 5 to 6 years, if Clemson continues this run of success they've had, they're going to be up there in that list.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, if they continue, they've won 3 national titles now.
Yeah, and it's honestly kind of impressive. Like, you look at like a couple years ago in baseball when you had like the Kansas City Royals winning the whole World Series, and they were like number 28 out of 30 in terms of spending.
I think it's fascinating because, as Bradley alluded to a few minutes ago, all the teams that you see consistently ranked at the beginning of the season and even throughout the season, I mean, schools like Texas or Miami or Notre Dame or Michigan, they win a few games, they're always going to be top 20. All these schools are at the top of the evaluation charts, and Clemson, little old Clemson, as Tabo likes to say, is nowhere near the top.
Yeah.
Yet they are still dominating on the field.
And then there's Tennessee at number 11. And when we get to later, they are highly rated in the FPI as well, and I can't figure out why.
Yeah, well, there's no matter how bad they are, there's always money pouring into Rocky Top.
Oh, I mean, Notre Dame, when they were 3-9 a couple years ago, they were top 10 in the recruiting rankings and the amount spent. I mean, the alumni network for Notre Dame alone is extremely loyal. Having an NBC game every single week, there's a reason they're not in the conference, and that's the reason why.
Are you surprised that USC is so low? Because
I'm very surprised.
USC or U of SC?
USC.
I'm very surprised.
See, we got to make this distinction.
Yeah,
now.
we do now. Oregon is much higher, and I get that from the contribution standpoint of Nike, but I'm surprised.
Very surprised. I think if you look at this list back in the 04-05 years, they're a lot higher, but it seems like football has just kind of become like a secondary thing for USC now, where they're just not as focused on it. I mean, yes, they haven't been that successful, but look at the facility ratings. They're not even barely cracking the top 20. Yeah. The revenue, they're barely cracking the top 20.
Well, I know revenue doesn't equal profit, but having a football team exist in Los Angeles cannot be cheap. So
of course not. No.
You figured the amount of money that they have to raise just to break even is already higher than whatever we have to pay here in Clemson.
But you would think with how big of a program it is, they'd be able to break that and then some.
And the clientele. Think about how much money people in LA are making.
That's what I'm saying.
But it's the West Coast. Football's not as high on their priority list. They got other things they'd rather do with their money. Whereas if you live in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, football is about all you care about.
That's why Arkansas is number 13.
Geographics are. I mean, that's very important, very, very important. But I still think that.
That's true that you mentioned that, Evan, because I'm looking at these teams and where they're from. Every single place, even every single state, there's not a lot going on outside of college football there.
Nope.
I mean, look at Penn State, Pennsylvania. Maybe. I mean, I got a few things mixed in there like NFL and all that. But Arkansas, middle of Tennessee, down in Gainesville, Florida.
Well, and the Big Ten up in the Midwest area, really, you have those big major college football programs. And besides that, in pro sports, there's.
I mean, what are you doing in South Bend, Indiana, or Ann Arbor, Michigan during the winter? You're
wishing I was somewhere else.
Or sitting in 32-degree weather and watching a Notre Dame game.
Yeah.
One honestly. Of the two.
I don't know. It was interesting that both these publications, Forbes and Wall Street Journal, released data from this past season, 2018, and ranked teams. And by and large, the rankings were pretty similar. Texas has been at the top for a good long while, and Forbes obviously has Texas A&M at 1 now, but the Wall Street Journal still got.
I'd like to look at this list 20, 30 years ago and just see how different it would be compared to nowadays.
I would
assume Nebraska would be ranked a lot higher.
Nebraska would be a lot higher. Yep, Texas is probably still there.
But
I think USC would be a lot higher than they are.
They're not that low, guys. Nebraska's 15.
Well, because they're Nebraska. I mean, no matter how they do, like Evan said before, what else are you doing in Nebraska? I mean, it's a big-time football program no matter how you look at it.
That's true.
Yeah.
It was interesting. We're going to cut to a break. When we come back, I think we're going to have Alex on with us. We're going to get him queued up in the phone lines. So hopefully we'll be talking to him. That's next after this break. Stick with us.
Have you ever looked at your carpet after a cleaning and thought, man, what is that gunk and residue they left behind? Do you worry about the harsh chemicals that cleaning companies use that could harm your loved ones? Well, worry no more. Zero Res is the standout carpet cleaner brand you can count on. Their patented no residue cleaning system leaves no man behind on your beautiful home. Call today at 864-588-7300. Zero Res. Spell it backwards or forwards. It's the right way to clean.
Foothills Metal Supply of Pickens is your local supplier for metal roofing supplies and more. Buy from a dealer who has pride in providing you with the highest quality materials at the best price. Stop by their lot at 2331 Walhalla Highway in Pickens today and see all they have to offer. Foothills Metal Supply allows you to cut out the middleman and go directly to what you need. Call today for more information at 864-481-9180. That's 864-481-9180.
Absolute Waste Management specializes in waste removal services for bulky, unwanted items like old furniture, appliances, construction, debris, and more. Also offering clean-out services for evictions, rental properties, estate liquidations, and foreclosures. Call or text 864-266-7131 for your free, no-obligation quote today. Don't wait. Make the call, schedule an appointment, and say bye to the junk. 864-266-7131 or online at absolutewastemgmt.com.
Anderson County is a great place to live and work, play, and worship. Samantha Porter, the Anderson County environmental educator, reminds all residents to recycle used motor and cooking oil at Anderson County Convenience Centers. You can also bring your used oil and gas mixtures to the King David, Mance Jolly, and Whitefield sites. Tires may be recycled at the Materials Recovery Facility in Belton. If you have any questions, please call 260-1001 in regard to recycling and proper waste disposal.
It's 2019 and Scores Jewelers is finally in its new home on Civic Center Boulevard in Anderson. Scores Jewelers has grown into the premier jewelry store in the area thanks to you. And guys, if it's time to show her that she's the one you want to make memories with, we're here to make finding the right ring easy. Right now we have special 36 months no interest financing available. And at Scores, you can compare diamonds side by side to see the difference for yourself. And with one of the largest selections of mountings in the area, finding the right style has never been easier. And best of all, if we don't have it, we can make it specially for you. We have custom design in-house to create whatever she wants. Of all the things we offer, the most important is guidance and expertise. We're here to help make finding the right ring easy and enjoyable. The one thing we don't offer at Scores is high pressure. We want buying a ring to be a pleasant experience. Yes, we'd like to make a sale, but we'd rather make a friend. Friends come back. I'm William Nichols, and I'd like to personally invite you to our new location and experience for yourself the difference at Scores Jewelers.
Four Paws American Pub congratulates the Clemson Tigers on winning another national championship. Since Four Paws opened last summer, the Tigers have been perfect on the field, and we both have plans for a great future. Four Paws has added even more house-made local features, like new country fried pork chops and chicken. Get together with friends to enjoy craft beer and great food while watching sports on our big screen TVs. Make tracks to Four Paws, located on Highway 93 in front of the Courtyard Marriott in Clemson. Go Tigers!
You have cracks in your driveway, sidewalk, or settling pool decks? Why tear it out when you can lift it? Canty Foundation Specialists can raise concrete slabs back to its original position using our patented polylevel process. Call Canty today at 864-475-1671. Don't replace it, raise it. 475-1671 or visit us at cantyfoundationsc.com.
Hey, Bradley, you know who sings this?
Oh, he doesn't know. He got it. He got it.
Yes. Second time's a charm.
Getting better at the trivia. And you know what? Actually, I meant to mention this when we came on air at the start of the show. Bradley looked into his left. The countdown clock in the studio is back live.
With the new updated pictures,
191 days until kickoff.
It was like that last week, but of course Bradley wouldn't know that.
I wasn't here. No. Yeah. That was the first thing I noticed when I walked in. I was like, oh, shoot. There we go.
Less than 200 days.
Kelly Bryant's finally off the board.
Yeah, they redid some of the pictures, got him from the national championship game.
You got Ross up there, T. Higgins.
Got both number 8s on there, including AJ Terrell. Love that.
All right, well, let's go ahead and get on the phone with Alex Dodd of the Clemson Insider. Alex, how you doing tonight? Can you hear us? You there, Alex? Not sure if he...
Alex, Earth to Alex.
Alex, can you hear us? All right, we'll put him on hold. Let's see if Evan can talk to him, get that figured out. But okay, so let's go back, Bradley, to what we were talking about the previous segment and the fact that we were looking at most valuable college football teams. And what really struck out to me is that the Wall Street Journal, in their particular rankings, in 2017, they valued Ohio State at $1.5 billion with a B, a capital B.
It's a lot of Buckeyes.
It is. In 2018, though, their valuation dropped to just over $1 billion. So according to the Wall Street Journal, I
can tell you why.
They lost about $500 million in valuation. So is that a direct result of the controversy around Urban Meyer?
That's the majority of it, I would say. I mean, I can't think of anything else right now.
And my next question, what does that say about, because literally, and I think I have a quote from that article about how losing Urban Meyer is a serious blow to the program. He was a tremendous asset. So what does that say about the current state of college football, that coaches are considered assets?
I think it's huge. I think right now you're seeing the level of discrepancy between how much coaches are making and honestly the rest of the employees at the school is huge. I mean, Dabo's the highest paid employee in the entire state of South Carolina right now. That's a fact. Urban Meyer was clearly the highest paid guy in the state of Ohio. It's huge. I think that alone, that scandal that went down, took a big hit to Ohio State's program, for sure.
All right, well, we've got Alex Dodd queued back up in the phone lines. Hopefully everything's good this time. Alex, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. My phone has been having so many problems, so I'm just using somebody else's, and we're going to be all right.
It's Monday. I understand. It's still early in the week, so all is forgiven.
We've had callers in the past that breathe deeply like Darth Vader into their phones before, so honestly, hearing nothing's better than hearing that.
For a second there, I thought maybe the universe is against us being on the show together. Because I had the flu and all that stuff, and I got sick again.
Oh,
but
boy.
here we are after the phone problems. I think it's going to work out.
Alex, you told me the other week that you had a fever, and I believe a direct quote, I have 101-degree fever, and I responded and I go, well, why don't you make that 105.5 and call in for us? That'd be great.
Well, that was pretty cheesy. Give him a boo on that one.
Well, Alex, we're glad that you're feeling better. But tell us a little bit. I guess to start off with your background. I mean, you've been with TCI since August of 2017.
Now, actually, I want you to start back. I got your YouTube page pulled up here, Dodd Sports Network. I want you to start back 8 years ago. Strikingly, you look a lot like my cousin, which is kind of scary back at that age. But I want you to talk about what got you into sports broadcasting and radio in general.
Well, I mean, okay, so this is how the legend begins, I guess. And I don't know if it's much of a legend, but I got an iPod for Christmas.
It looks like it's filmed on an iPod. Yeah.
An iPod for Christmas in 6th grade. And then, like, 15 days later, go up to my dad, and I'm like, hey, Dad, I have a website. And he freaked out a little bit because your 12-year-old kid's not supposed to make a website. But I made Dodd Sports Network and started doing like little sports blog videos, and next thing you know, I like got a credential to the Historically Black Colleges and Universities Classic at Floor Field. Met the general manager, now general manager for the Greenville Drive, and he told me I could come to any event there. So I went to some Clemson baseball games and some Furman baseball games. Got full season pass for all athletics at Furman. Started making connections, started going and covering Clemson baseball games because they were the only ones who would let the only sport that Clemson that would let 12-year-old kid come in. And then one thing turned to another. Dan Scott gave me an opportunity to have a radio show in 11th grade. I did play-by-play and stuff for my high school at Travelers Rest in 10th, 11th, and 12th grade. And then TCI, I've known those guys since 6th grade. I met them at the ACC football kickoff, Will Vandervoort and Robert McRae, and when I got accepted to Clemson, they offered me a job, and here I am.
Well, I got to say, man, you've got some incredible headlines here. If you're not doing sports broadcasting one day, you might just want to write some headlines. I got Dodd Sports Network, Paladin defense extinguishes the Liberty Flames.
Those are those SET words of the day.
Yeah, no
That's
doubt.
like the best 14-year-old headline I've ever seen, I think.
So you got into, I mean, you've talked about your background and getting the iPod for Christmas. Was it always about sports? Did you always want to do, I mean, because you've done a lot. I mean, you've done writing, with TCI. You've done the blogs and the video vlogs with your website. You did a little bit of radio. You did play-by-play. What's been your favorite so far?
I mean, I've really enjoyed everything that I've done. I love working for TCI. They're super good to me. They pay me a little bit of money and take me on trips, and it's been great. I really enjoy working with those guys. But definitely my favorite thing has been probably play-by-play, just being like in the heat of the moment. I love doing baseball play-by-play most of all because there's just a lot more creative liberty to, you got to talk about other stuff. Especially in high school baseball, you don't have stats. You don't have stats in high school sports. You have whatever stats that you come up with from the games that you've been to. So that was always a lot of fun, and I kind of miss doing that. But I've done a couple football games for this station, high school football games, and that's a lot of fun too.
Yeah, I gotta imagine, being in high school and calling baseball games. I assume it was for your school, so you're really calling games that are being played by your fellow classmates, and that's got to be a really unique experience, and something that you'll carry with you for a long, long time.
Yeah, I mean it was really cool. It was kind of funny at first because these are guys that I grew up with, and saying what they're doing on the field and things like that is kind of interesting. But honestly, it kind of prepared me for what I'm doing now because I have friends that are athletes and I have to interview them sometimes, and things that normally would be awkward for me to do if I was doing it for the first time. Like I've done those things before. Like I've interviewed my friends before, so it probably helped me out a lot with what I'm doing now, honestly.
I can't even imagine interviewing Jay. I don't even know the first thing I tried to ask him. There's just so many questions going through my head already.
You know what? I'll tell you, Alex. I've lived with Bradley for 4 years. Actually, I don't know if
I'm sorry.
Oh gosh. Well, you know what's
I don't know how you've done it,
Bradley
man.
For
What's
4
interesting?
whole years.
I
lived with him for just this weekend. For 2 days with him.
2 days was well enough.
It was honestly amazing when I look back and think about it, because Bradley and I were on the same floor in our freshman dorm. We lived across the hall from each other, and I don't know if we've ever talked about this on air, but Evan lived a floor above us.
And we didn't even know him.
We were all in Cope. I think I met him maybe once or twice in the laundry room, but by and large, we didn't connect until sophomore year. And yeah, it's just amazing to me when I think back to 4 years ago. That's how it all got started. So you really just never know.
I'll go on the record and say I'm glad I don't live with either of you. Perfectly fine living several miles in apartment complexes away. I think that works out pretty good.
Alex, what have you found to be the coolest experience you've had so far? Obviously, in your first 2 years, you've done more than the average college kid gets to say. I mean, what have you found to be the coolest experience you've had as a Tiger?
I mean, this year was awesome. To be at every game of the 15-0 season, first 15-0 season since 1897 of any college football team. But getting to be at every game that Clemson played this year, and there were only 2 games that didn't work. It was Georgia Southern at home and Texas A&M. If I was going to pick a game that I wanted to pay to be a fan, it was definitely that Texas A&M game. I had a ton of fun going on that trip. But getting to go and cover the Sugar Bowl last year and the Cotton Bowl this year, and getting to go and cover a national championship, something that guys work their entire careers and don't ever get to go to a game of that magnitude. Just a super big blessing, and it was a lot of fun. And the best part about doing any kind of job is the relationships you build with the people around you, and being friends with knowing these guys that are in the sports media and having known them since 6th grade. It gets really funny because sometimes they forget that you're a college student. Like one time I got called out by somebody on Twitter for being in the student section because they forgot I was a student. But just funny stuff like that. But getting to build relationships with the people I work with is definitely the most enjoyable part.
It's okay. At least you don't get called out for wrong predictions on Twitter and get put on freezing cold tape.
0 for 3. Let's talk more about this next segment.
I think that I have I've called you guys out on Instagram DMs and stuff before, but that's just for the fun of it. I wasn't being serious.
We deserve it.
I couldn't imagine that. There were just too many Big Ten teams in you guys' top 4s this year. There were just too many Big Ten teams.
I'm still holding out for Michigan State to make the playoff and Will Greer to win the Heisman.
Instagram is all fun and games.
I will say that at the beginning of the year, I was on another radio show on a different station and said that Michigan State would be in the top 4 at the end of the year.
Glad I wasn't alone.
I'm not exempt from this either. I was getting heck about it tonight. So,
where do you? Because I'm curious. You got a few years left now in school. So what's your? Have you thought about your plan after graduation or where you'd want to be? I mean, do you want to stay? Beat media covering a specific team, or would you want to go to a larger market?
Honestly, I'll do whatever. When I graduate, I think my plan is actually to go seminary. But I do love doing sports. Like, I would love to do play-by-play for something whenever, wherever. That's a lot of fun. I love covering high school sports, too, because there's just an extra level of appreciation that you get from people when you cover high school sports, because nobody does it. There's no publicity for high school sports in this state, particularly in the upstate. And getting to be a part of a community like I was when I was doing that was a ton of fun. And I'm looking at working on a different job potentially on Friday nights in the fall. But that's something I love doing. But I would do anything, radio show, writing, any of it. All of it's fun. I enjoy doing all of it. Radio show. What you guys are doing is probably the most fun thing to do, just because you get to do your creativity and you say whatever you want to say, and you plan out the show how you want to plan it, and you got your segments that you came up with, and you don't have to do, with writing, there are certain things you have to do. Like if you're writing a game story, there's a framework you have to follow, and there's storylines that you have to find. But when you're doing a radio show, you just do whatever you want to do, and that's always a lot of fun. I really enjoyed doing that in high school, and would love to do that again at some point too. So That wasn't a very straightforward answer, but there you go.
Yeah, the freedom of it is lovely. Speaking of freedom, one last question, Alex, before we let you go. We asked Mark Packer earlier this summer 3 games that he would want to go cover as a sports broadcaster. I want to ask you the same question. If you had the ability and the freedom to cover 3 sporting events in general, what would be the top 3 on your list?
Man, I would want to cover... Man, that's a hard question. Number 1 is a baseball game at Fenway Park. That is number 1. I want to cover a baseball game at Fenway Park. I've already covered a national championship. I've already covered a college football playoff. So those ones are already crossed off the list. You know, I grew up a Clemson fan, so I crossed all that stuff off the list already too. I guess you have to say the Super Bowl. It's like what you have to say, I guess.
Yeah.
If you're in sports, you got to say the Super Bowl. And then I love baseball. I would love to cover a World Series at some point, too. So a World Series, a game at Fenway Park, and a Super Bowl.
That'd be great. Pretty good list.
Not too bad, yeah.
Pretty good list. All right, well, hey, Alex, we really appreciate you taking the time to call in, and hopefully we'll get you on next few weeks, and we'll talk some more.
Yeah, I'd love to get on here and talk sports with you guys on Monday nights.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool, man.
Looking forward to it. Glad you're feeling better.
Yeah, me too. Good to be on with you guys. It finally worked out. The universe is not against us.
3rd time's charm.
Yeah. All right, man. Have a good one. Thanks.
All right. Take care.
All right, and that
Good
was
stuff, man.
Alex Dodd. Yep, TCI. Great guy. Great story.
Oh, absolutely.
The iPod thing is awesome.
Tremendous. I mean, to start at such a young age. I mean, back 8 years ago, knowing, hey, this is something I'm really passionate about and want to do. I mean, it took me till my sophomore year for Jay to say, hey, let's put a mic in front of our faces and record these arguments.
It's not even about the idea. It's the execution.
Exactly.
It's his level of
the willingness
of
to actually do it.
Yeah, and his commitment to seeing it through. And I mean, you look at, if you want to read more about Alex, you can go to the TCI's website. They had a great bio on him about everything he's been able to accomplish. And I mean, everything from the Dodd Sports Network to the Alex Dodd Show. I mean, just unbelievable.
Hey, maybe we'll get to go on the Dodd Sports Network soon and return the favor.
Honestly, it's just amazing how much he's been able to accomplish at such a young age and everything he's been able to do.
No doubt about it. And still with 2 years left. I mean,
and he's humble about it.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, we're seniors. Our time is almost up, but you know, having the freedom and ability to already do that at such a young age with so much more time in front of you, that's an awesome thing.
Yeah.
Awesome thing for sure.
Great
he's
story.
so well-versed.
Yeah. Great story. Hopefully we'll have Alex on recurring next few weeks. That'd be great to make that a recurring segment. But got to go to a quick break. We'll be back after this.
Cars cost less than Travelers Rest at George Coleman Ford, and it's never been more true than February. This month, George Coleman Ford will meet or beat any documented out-the-door price from any upstate dealer. You heard me right. Any new car, truck, SUV, George Coleman Ford will meet or beat any dealer's price. See my friends at George Coleman Ford in Travelers Rest and save big. Applies only to in-stock inventory. Offers within 5 business days. Price matches before applicable rebates.
This is Clay, owner of Easley Lawn and Garden and your local Husqvarna dealer. Now is the ideal time to get your Husqvarna riders, mowers, trimmers, and blowers in for preseason maintenance. While you're at it, ask about liquidation programs on last year's Husqvarna equipment, as well as upcoming deals on the new line of homeowner and commercial Husqvarna riders, mowers, trimmers, blowers, and chainsaws. Thanks to you, Easley Lawn and Garden had its best year ever last year. As your local Husqvarna dealer, I, along with my family and staff, look forward to taking care of you for years to come. Take advantage of 0% financing while available with approved credit. See the entire lineup of Husqvarna products available at Easley Lawn and Garden. Husqvarna and Easley Lawn and Garden, a part of the local community for nearly 40 years. Veteran and family owned and operated, 312 South Pendleton Street, Easley. Online at easleylawn.com.
Your Buy of Clemson has weekly specials that are great tasting and great deals. Monday and Tuesday, kids eat for half price. And Tuesday is also benefit proceeds night for local charities. Wednesday is half price wine and $3.14 for cheese sticks. Thursday is $3.14 for pints and cheese sticks. And Sunday is student night. Get a pizza and a drink for $7.99 or a pint for $9.99. Great savings this week at Your Buy of Clemson, helping your community one pie at a time.
In the center of it all lies a crown jewel of Anderson, the Anderson Sports and Entertainment Center. Adventure awaits at the KidVenture Playground. There's 64 acres for sports, including 7 ball fields, 3 soccer fields, 8 tennis courts, and miles of hiking paths. a 10,000-seat amphitheater, and the county's largest ballroom and seating for up to 3,200 spectators. Hosting a private event? Look no further than the Anderson Sports and Entertainment Center. In the center of it all, go to AndersonEvents.com.
The new year is here, and it's time to get ready for Seneca's Half Marathon and 5K, brought to you exclusively by Henry Ramirez and his staff at Upstate Medical Associates. It's coming up on March the 16th at 8 o'clock for the 5K start, then 8:15 the Half Marathon gets started. It's going to be a lot of fun. We've got a great T-shirt this year we're giving away, plus we've got the sleeves, we've got the buffs, we've got a towel, we've got a great medal just for finishing the Half Marathon, plus it's going to be a lot of fun too. Hey, go ahead and sign up, swing by City Hall, or go by the Shavers Recreation Complex and pick up an application right there. $25 for the 5K and $50 for the half marathon. We got 313 Cafe going to be out there with the post party once you finish the 5K and the half marathon. And of course, Core 24 is right there to kind of root you along. Bradley's Jewelers is involved with a nice prize to give away. And Julian Davis will be there to kick everything off. It's going to be a fun day, March the 16th. Go ahead, strike it off your bucket list. Get your resolution for Seneca's half marathon and 5K, brought to you by Upstate Medical Associates, Henry Ramirez and his gang.
Relax, Tiger Town. Founders Federal Credit Union is in Clemson. Our full-service office is located on Old Greenville Highway, next to Walmart Neighborhood Market, just 2 miles from campus. And with 4 on-campus ATMs, Founders is the only financial institution you need in Clemson. Visit RelaxJoinFounders.com to see if you qualify for membership. That's RelaxFounders.com. Go Tigers! Founders Federal Credit Union is federally insured by NCUA and a proud partner of the Clemson Tigers.
If you had to ask the question, should I stay or should I go?
Probably
you
should
should
go.
probably go.
You should probably
In
go.
most cases, I would.
That means
assume
you have
going is the right
enough
choice.
doubt where you probably shouldn't stay. Going is the way to go.
Well, let's go now into a bit of a discussion about. Oh, you don't like that?
I've heard better segues
Are you ever
in my
going
day.
to appreciate
anything
I say?
I'm just
You didn't say that, Bradley. That wasn't even you.
Okay, good.
not-
I used the crickets on someone else, and you're still getting offended.
You always use it on me. So
I think you're just automatically offended by any kind of negative sound
I just
effect.
assume the worst. 90% of the time, it's directed towards me.
Now, that is
You know
true.
what, just throw out the phone lines so we can get
I'm
past
just going
this.
to go. You got to give me a second, actually. Evan, I had the phone
Okay.
lines pulled up. My website won't load. I'm sorry.
Well, Evan,
I'm getting there.
What are the phone lines? Remind the people.
Let's
for the big
see if
club.
I have it
You got it
memorized. here.
memorized. I don't.
654-ROAR, 654-7627. That's the phone line if you want to call in. If you want to text in, it's 986-1566.
Easy
If
enough.
you're a little too shy, I don't want to talk to me.
That's why
986-1566. We'll get to you on the text
I
line.
remember
as
how
well.
mad you got when I said if you're a little shy and you don't want to call in.
Stealing my line,
That's
too.
my line,
So you can't be creative enough to come up with your own good enough line. You got to steal other people's.
I didn't know that was like trademarked.
Apparently, I do have to start trademarking stuff around here. Otherwise, I'm just going to keep whipping these crickets out at you.
All right.
Good thing there's a window between us.
Gotta rein it back in. At the beginning of the show, first segment before we had Alex Dodd on, we were talking about most valuable college programs. Now we're going to talk a little bit about apparel deals, facilities, the most valuable facilities in college athletics, most valuable apparel deals in college athletics. Bradley, I guess we'll start with the apparel because Clemson and Nike back in August signed a 10-year, $58 million extension. And just to go over, because I don't really know, to be honest, how publicized this deal actually was. Do you remember hearing or seeing anything about it?
I do remember seeing stuff about it. I don't think it was very widely covered, just because I think people, knew that we were a Nike school and that okay, an extension, cool. Like it's not like we're.
It was expected.
Yeah, it's not like we're up in Oregon and we like own the place. Like it was just okay. It's just another bit of money that we're bringing into the school.
Well, and you mentioned Clemson being a Nike school. They've been partners since 2002.
Yeah.
So well before Dabo's tenure started at Clemson.
I think it just is loyalty. I think that's huge. Yeah.
Well, part of this new contract is going to increase, and it's already gone into effect, but it'll increase yearly payments from $115,000 to $400,000 in cash. And what was interesting, reading some articles about this new contract, is that companies like Adidas have been able to pull a lot of teams away from Nike because they're offering larger sums of cash with the deal. Like, I mean, Washington.
Smart.
Washington was a great example because Washington was a Nike school, and now they're going to go with Adidas because of their $7.9 million annual deal. What, $5 million? Yeah, $5 million of that is going to be in cash.
Am I crazy or am I making this memory up? Because I could have sworn that maybe towards the beginning of our 4 years here that the student bookstore was having a big sale because it might have been that Nike was like the athletic sponsor, but the university sponsor was somebody different. So all of the university apparel was a different brand, and Nike somehow took that over. So there was a big sale on non-Nike apparel in the bookstore. Do either of y'all remember that? Is
that why I got like a $3 hat?
Could have been
in the bookstore.
Could have been
Columbia,
and it might have been.
I think it was Columbia.
It might have been because like you said, the athletics and the football have been sponsored by Nike for since the early 2000s.
Yeah.
But I think the university might have had a separate apparel contract that wasn't Nike, and Nike just somehow took that over. Because I remember there being a big sale on non-Nike apparel in the bookstore. I'm pretty sure it was my freshman year. Maybe it was the year before, and I was here for a football game. But of course, nobody was buying it because everybody wanted the new Nike apparel.
Well, if you're Nike, that's smart. I mean, just overtake the whole thing.
Yeah, exactly. No, it makes a lot of sense.
No reason not to.
I just that memory just somehow came back in my mind, and I wanted to make sure I wasn't making that up.
No, I don't think you are. I think back on the Adidas thing right there, Adidas has pulled some pretty good moves over the course of the last few years, starting with like Steph Curry. Back when they were able to yank Curry away from Under Armour. Is he Adidas or is he Under Armour? He's Under Armour, isn't he?
I'm pretty sure he's still Under Armour. Okay,
I was thinking of somebody else then, not Steph Curry. But yeah, Adidas has really kind of thrown themselves into that because, you look at college football across the board, it's usually known to be just all Nike. But the fact that Adidas has been able to yank some schools like that.
I mean, the article from Forbes that we looked at made some good points about the fact that several years ago, Adidas was able to wrestle away Michigan, UCLA, and Kansas. Now, since then, Nike's gotten, Michigan's come back. They've pushed back.
Yep.
Yeah, they've, renewed with Texas. So most of your blue blood, most valuable programs are still donning the swoosh, and I think that's probably why Clemson opted to continue their allegiance to Nike. But at the same time, there's a lot of money out there to be made if you're a mid-tier program and you want to switch to a different program.
I mean, what's better, having a couple big-time programs or having a lot of mid-level programs that could break through, like how Clemson did all of a sudden?
How about, speaking of mid-level programs that had just recently switched over to Adidas, here's one that I don't think at the time flew under the radar, but one that I didn't realize. Georgia Tech, who for a long time had been sponsored by Russell. As of 2018, they dropped Russell and have a new partnership with Adidas.
An upgrade.
Yeah.
That's a
significant upgrade.
There's your reason why they might be highly rated on the revenue scale.
I always used to laugh when I saw Georgia Tech wearing Russell Athletic. I just felt bad for them. I was like, geez, imagine going into the apparel shop and you're Georgia Tech and all you've got is Russell Athletic.
Your student bookstore is just an extension of Walmart at that point. Walmart sells Russell. I can go buy a Georgia Tech Walmart t-shirt for $6 and wash my car in it, or I can go to the student bookstore and get it for $15 and feel totally ripped off.
I'll tell you what, the kids at Georgia Tech, they're not jealous of the roommates being video guys getting all the gear because they can just buy it cheaply themselves.
Yeah. Honestly,
it reminds me of you look at going to the YMCA and you see the dad wearing the New Balance sneakers. That's the comparison right there with Russell Athletic.
So what if Georgia Tech had won a national championship with Russell? You can get a national champion Clemson pullover for $150. You get a Georgia Tech national champion Russell pullover for $27.99.
Or how about if they don't win the championship and you want to buy the one that says they won the championship on it and it's made
you
by
write
Russell.
the score in on the back. When Clemson made the ACC championship against Virginia Tech in 2010, maybe, I want to say it was 2011. Yeah, that season. I bought a t-shirt outside of the stadium after the game that was nowhere near officially licensed, and it was basically all black and white, and it said, Clemson, Virginia Tech, 2011 ACC National Championship, and it had boxes on the bag where you could write the score in with a Sharpie or sew it in, I guess, if you care that much. I think I still have that t-shirt.
I still remember a couple years ago, the championship game, you know how, because the championship game is played in January, so it's right after the year changes. Well, some of the apparel had 2015 written on it as opposed to 2016, or I guess 2017 and 2016, whatever.
There's a lot of confusion with
whatever
this,
the years were. Yeah. Very, very big confusion. They actually had an entire rack in the back. They said, we're not going to sell this because we mistakenly put the wrong year and no one's buying it. And I was like, well, that's probably smart because I wouldn't want to buy it either because, it's the wrong season.
Yeah, but that's one of those misprints you can get for super cheap. If they have a whole rack of those t-shirts with the wrong year on it, you can buy all of them for $10.
Yeah, grab your Sharpie, fill in, make the 7 a 6.
Quiz time. time before we move on to talking about facilities. Quiz time. So if you look at the total breakdown,
I saw you move your computer.
Yeah. Can't let you be cheating over here. So if you look at the total breakdown in the FBS, number of schools, all right, you've got your top three: Nike, Adidas, and Under Armour. What percentage of the FBS do you think Nike has a handle on?
Georgia.
No. What percentage?
Yeah, I know. I was just using Bradley's strategy of guessing Georgia and hoping for the best.
Well, they were 16th, so let's double that, triple that, and then do that again. I'm going to go around 60, maybe less than that, 40%.
40% use Nike? That's your guess?
Yeah.
40%?
40% use Nike is his guess?
Well, is it the number of schools or what percentage
out of the FBS? What percentage of schools in the FBS use Nike apparel?
I may take that down because I was thinking of overall revenue in general.
Okay, so 40.
I'll go less. I think if it's how many between the three of those?
Yeah.
You said?
Yeah, well, those are your top three. I mean, there's teams out there using other brands. There's just only a handful.
Like Russell.
I'll take 40. Why
okay,
not?
40.
I'll take the Price is Right strategy. I'm going to go 41. That way, if it's over 40, I win.
That was smart because it's 52.8%. 68 teams in the FBS use Nike. What's really interesting is Adidas had 39 at 30%, and Under Armour only 22 teams, 17% of the FBS.
That's every school around Maryland, and then maybe a few out west.
I think didn't UCLA just make a big switch to Under Armour? I thought that was now their most valuable team that Under Armour has in their stock. Because I know South Carolina's been an Under Armour team for several years, and I think they may have been Russell Athletic before they were Under Armour.
Not a bad idea, honestly. Get out
correctly.
west, get to UCLA, who's trying to kind of change their athletic program in general now. Pretty good idea to switch that up.
Yeah. What's really interesting when you get into the Power 5 and the Group of 5 breakdowns, the Power 5, Nike dominates. Nike has 42 schools, Adidas 12, Under Armour 11. But in the Group of 5, it's essentially a toss-up. Adidas 27, Nike 26, and Under Armour 11. So Nike seems to be going after those bigger name schools and the bigger conferences, which,
is naturally going to happen.
Makes sense.
Yeah,
Sure.
of course. And that's where it would be smart for, products like Adidas and Under Armour to jump on that and take over some of those Group of 5 schools that, like we've seen in the past, like UCF could all of a sudden become a big-time program. It's smart to invest low and sell it high.
Really interesting, though, because they went into,
Little finance drama for you there.
all the different conferences and who wore what. I mean, the only school in the ACC that's wearing Under Armour is Boston College. You got Georgia Tech, Louisville, Miami,
around Maryland.
NC State that all wear Adidas. But other than that, it's mostly Nike. I mean, Big 12, you have one Under Armour, Texas Tech. So I don't know. It was interesting. Like you said, geographical location sometimes can.
Does it say how many total there are on there? Like how many total companies affiliate themselves with college football? Like, is there like a 0.1% that owns like one school in the FBS or something?
I think this particular comparison was between Nike, Adidas, and Under Armour just because they're the big dogs in this, realm.
There's a strange, obscure little Louisiana college using
C9,
using starter as their branding.
Champion.
Reebok.
Gildan.
Reebok makes football uniforms now.
All right. Well, we got a few minutes left here in this last segment before we go into hour 2. So, what do you make, Bradley, of this article that 247 Sports put out ranking the top 20 college facilities? Because you mentioned Northwestern right off the bat, and they had them ranked at 20.
Well, I'm surprised because they dropped the most money on any facilities ever. They dropped like over $250,000 on their facilities, and that was like, 5 times the amount the Clemson even dropped? So it was an incredible number. Maybe they just haven't completely factored that completely in yet. I'm not quite sure.
I'm not sure if that's entirely accurate, though, because I did read not too long ago that Texas A&M, and Evan would have to fact check this, but Texas A&M had like a $400+ million renovation of their stadium.
I could be wrong. What I read last year was that they dropped $250 million on maybe it was just the facility, not the actual stadium.
You might be right in
But
that
the
regard.
facility itself is huge. It's like a multi-purpose building for the entire university. It just happens to hold the football facility as well, which was one of the huge draws for Hunter Johnson to go there. And it's a very, very nice place. I mean, I've seen pictures of it online, debuted videos like South Carolina did where they revealed everything. It's incredible.
Do you think that teams, because, honestly now a lot of these facilities have things like barbershops and golf courses and slides. Is that only for recruiting? Is that the sole purpose of those, attractions and side on,
Yes. I mean, I don't know. Students aren't allowed in there. I mean, I guess in Northwestern's case, yes, maybe because they are, but it's all recruiting. I think you got the ability for you to become creative and come up with different, unique additions to your facilities is what really separates you. And the slide, while it's a small part of the facility itself, is a fun little draw for recruits.
Well, see, I could play devil's advocate here and say that all of those amenities and bells and whistles are not all for recruiting, and I'm not sure I have time to get into this before the break, but in my mind, and this is kind of similar to what Clemson, the university itself, is doing with some of its new construction, specifically Dowley Hills, the new housing facilities, you're keeping students closer to campus.
Yeah.
So with the new football facilities, you're keeping the football players closer to the facility. You keep them out of trouble, right? So if Dexter Lawrence is going down a slide, then you know he's not downtown or something, getting into some kind of trouble. You'd rather him be playing mini golf outside of the football facility than, potentially getting in a car wreck on 85 on his way to Greenville doing something, that kind of thing. So, I think recruiting is a big part of it, but it also, once the players are here, it keeps them here too. It's a retention type thing.
Where it also keeps them is in the program for many years to come.
Yeah.
Like keeping guys till their senior year as opposed to leaving maybe that junior year because they have a great time.
Yeah, there's a huge perk to coming back because you get to enjoy the facilities.
Yeah, definitely.
Out of time, hour 1. Hour 2 is up next. May continue this discussion, may get into some new stuff. We'll just have to see. But yeah, we got a whole nother hour of AFR, and that is coming up after this break.
Safely in the Priority One studios. We are WCCP, Clemson Greenville. 105.5, The Roar.
And now, back to Jay, Bradley, and
No, it's definitely not the Beatles.
Very much not the Beatles.
Steven Tyler is... Yes!
Yeah, there we go.
That was a guess.
All right.
Wow, it's my lucky day, dude.
2 for 2.
You want to drive to Harris after this?
I'm impressed. Hour 2 now underway. Jay, Bradley, and Evan here bringing you AFR. Thanks for tuning in. Let's go now, Bradley, to the topic that you wanted to get to this evening, looking at teams that, since the playoffs inception, college football playoff, have not made the playoff that have a chance to do so this coming season.
Because it's been so similar over the last 3 or 4 years. We need some new teams. We need some...
we got some wild cards in there, like, Notre Dame, Washington.
We need some wild cards to do things, though. That's the thing.
That's the kicker.
Yeah. So is there a team that strikes out to you this year that you think this team's got a very legitimate chance to crack the top 4 and then do something in it? There's some obvious ones,
obviously.
Crack
the top 4, yes. Do something with it. I just don't see anybody competing with Alabama or Clemson for another couple years. But for the sake of this argument, I'll go with Texas.
Okay, easy one. A lot of momentum coming into this season for sure.
I think with the Big 12 and Texas's schedule in the Big 12 and Ellinger becoming more developed as a quarterback.
Ellinger's getting a lot of Heisman hype.
He is. Well, he's a Texas quarterback.
He is.
Just remember, Longhorns, got that burnt orange next to his name. But no, Texas's schedule starts off pretty strong out of conference with that LSU matchup.
I think the winner of that's got this edge.
And that right there, honestly, could give either of those teams an inside track to a playoff bid if they're able to get to their respective conference championships. Now, if they're losing multiple games, then they're out. But if Texas beats LSU week 2, and then they're taking care of Oklahoma State, West Virginia, Oklahoma, that's the big matchup. Mm-hmm. The Red River rivalry means so much to both teams.
But outside of that, against Oklahoma in the Big 12, there's not a lot of contenders.
The back end of the schedule for Texas is stupidly easy. Kansas
State,
State,
can get through that
Iowa
first half
State,
of the season,
Baylor, and Texas Tech.
If they can get through the first half of that season and not pull a Texas and lose to Maryland, I think you're right. They got a legitimate chance. But yeah, that game against LSU week 2, game day is going to be there.
Yep.
It's a home game for the Longhorns. And I think unlike that game we saw last year between Auburn and Washington, where we thought the winner of this has an inside track to get in that playoff spot,
we did.
I think the winner of that actually has a legitimate chance and doesn't lose 5 or 6 games like Auburn did. So
what about LSU? You think LSU's got a chance?
Very good chance. They're going to have a lot tougher of a road just based on the schedule they've got to go through, but a great chance to make a huge impact if they're able to go into that Alabama game 7-1, which looks like they have a good chance to do.
I just, to be honest with you, and I hear what you're saying. I really do hear what you're saying. But LSU has to play not only Texas, they've got to play Florida, they've got to play Auburn, which still is not a gimme. And they got to play at Alabama. And with how they've done the last 5 years against Alabama, I just don't have any confidence
it'll
in
be
it
on
at all.
the road. And I think this is where you're going to see this list that we compile. LSU's schedule alone is going to divide these teams up.
And A&M.
And A&M,
Oh
exactly.
my
So
gosh.
all of these teams, they're either going to beat themselves up or going to have none of these teams make it, or one of them is going to wipe the floor with all these teams and end up cracking into the
So what you're saying, Bradley, is either one of these teams makes the playoff or none of them do. So somebody's going to make the playoff.
I think so.
Or nobody's going to make the playoff.
I'll say this. I'll say it right now. I don't think you're going to see
I'm trying to make myself on ESPN over here. I don't know.
I mean, you're covering all your bases there, Trent Dilfer. You can't play quarterback in the National Football League and lose games and still win.
Exactly.
You're not wrong.
Stephen A. the other day, they were like, who do you think's going to win the All-Star game? And he was like, I think LeBron's team, or it was Jalen Rose. I think LeBron's team is going to play really well. I think Giannis's team is also going to play really well. I think the winner...
It's the All-Star team when nobody plays defense. Everybody plays.
He was like, I
well.
think the winner of that's going to have an All-Star on it. I was like, really? You think that? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if I put money on that or not.
I guess that proves you didn't, you got to show up, prepare, have
There you
notes.
go.
But no, I mean, seriously, I don't think you're going to see more than one team get into the playoff next year that's undefeated. I don't think you're going to see it. I don't think you're going to see it. There's going to be a game where, whoever it is should not lose, but will find a way, or the other team that they're playing will find a way to beat them, as is the case sometimes in college football.
I think if you had
upsets.
to pick a team from this list right now that's got the best chance, just based on the schedule itself and what they've got coming back, I think you're right. Texas is probably the best team on that list.
There's just too. I mean, you look at we talked LSU, Florida, or A&M. There's just too much on their schedules.
I'll give you a wild card that may have a similarly easy schedule that's got a good chance after what we saw last year. How about Washington State? I know Minshew is gone.
Yeah.
They got a guy coming in with a great name that is just peak Washington State quarterback. Gage Gabrud, coming in from Eastern Washington, a two-time Walter Payton Award finalist, got a transfer waiver like Justin Fields did to play immediately for Mike Leach, and he's a stud at quarterback. So if they can have a repeat performance this year and maybe not slip up that Apple Cup against Washington, you never know. The Cougars could crack in.
Let me give you my dark horse playoff contender, and I'm either going to hit this one out of the park or I am going down swinging.
Like Michigan State.
I like it.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Michigan.
Oh my!
I'm going to take the Wolverines.
I like it.
I'm looking.
I don't think it'll happen, but I like it.
No, that's what I'm saying. It's either going to be this is the year that they finally break through, or they're going to go like 7-5.
Are you going to join me on the Wolverine hype?
Stop that.
I will not be jumping on the Michigan hype train yet. I'm going to let it go a couple stops before I elect to hail it.
Harbaugh's got to beat a
on.
big time Big Ten team.
He does. If Harbaugh does not win this year, there's no chance he's sticking
They
around.
went 10-3 last year. Do not. Okay,
But this is the year, man.
No. 10-3. What? 9-4 and 10-3. That's what he's done while he's been in Michigan. They've had at least 9 wins every year.
10-3 is cool.
They have not had bad seasons under Jim
Do
Harbaugh.
not lecture me
But
on
have they
why
had
Jim
good
Harbaugh.
seasons?
Do not lecture me on why Jim
What you
Harbaugh
definition
is
of a
going
team?
to leave because he gets 10 wins
All
a
right,
year.
maybe not leave,
You're
but
insane.
if he's ever going to actually compete for a championship, you got to do it this year, bud. You got Ohio State with a new coach, a new quarterback. You basically run the Big Ten for the entire year last year, and you've got all these guys coming back with Shea Patterson as a
Army
senior.
and Notre Dame on the schedule. That's not easy.
If you win those games, it is.
You got both of those at home and Ohio State at home.
Yeah.
So the
hard games are at
schedule,
home.
the schedule shapes up well for Michigan. All right, how about this, Bradley? If Michigan, all right, let's operate under a very realistic assumption for just a minute, because that's not something that we typically do. Let's say Michigan,
never do that.
Let's say Michigan doesn't make the playoff, makes another New Year's Six bowl,
and loses.
No. I don't care what they do in the New Year's Six bowl.
I do.
That's not what I'm talking about right now. You let me finish the question. So they don't make the playoff. Let's say they're fifth. Let's say they're just out of the playoff. They're, I don't know. Well, I guess we'll call it 11-1 since they didn't make the playoff. They had to have lost at least one game. So let's say they're ranked fifth. They make a New Year's Six bowl, but they beat Ohio State. So they beat Ohio State. They still miss out on the playoff, even though a lot of people think this is the year they should make the playoff.
That's amazing. They miss out.
But let's say they're playing in the Rose Bowl. So let's say Alabama and Clemson are undefeated. Let's say Michigan beats Ohio State, and they're undefeated going into the Big Ten Championship, and maybe they drop that game, and that's why they're not in the playoff. So let's say the playoff is Clemson, Alabama, Georgia, and just for the fun of this conversation, Texas or Oklahoma.
Yeah.
So Michigan is 5th. They've lost the Big Ten Championship game, but they beat Ohio State, and they're in the Rose Bowl. Regardless of how they do in the Rose Bowl, is that a successful season under Jim Harbaugh?
That is. But going 10-3 or 9-4 is not.
How?
Because it's
double-digit wins.
Because A, it's Michigan. B, Harbaugh would have, if he doesn't beat Ohio State, if he drops another one to a rival and goes to 1-8 against his rivals of all time, that's a problem. He's going to have a lot of these guys leave, that are coming back from this year.
But
he's
all
going to have to start.
big games.
All right, how about this? Opposite scenario. Michigan is, let's say, undefeated headed into the Ohio State game. They've already locked up that division. So let's say Ohio State drops like 2 games or something. So if Michigan could either beat or lose to Ohio State, they still make the Big Ten Championship game. Let's say they lose to Ohio State, but they win the Big Ten Championship game and maybe still barely miss out on the playoff because they got beat by Ohio State. And they still go to the Rose Bowl. They're still ranked 5th, but they're Big Ten champions and they didn't beat Ohio State. Is that better or worse than the previous scenario? And is that a successful season under Jim Harbaugh?
I think it's worse because they would have lost to Ohio State.
I think
the Big
so
Ten
too.
Championship
So they've
game
got to beat Ohio State for you.
I think beating Northwestern and Indianapolis to win a Big Ten Championship game does nothing for the fan base. I don't think they really care about that. Well, first off, they haven't won a Big Ten championship yet, so maybe
that's a step in the right direction.
That's something.
They have to win one of those 2 games. Is what you're saying. They have to either beat Ohio State or win the Big Ten championship.
If they lose more than 2 games this year, I'm considering that an extremely disappointing season.
I can't take you
if
seriously.
They lose 3 games this year,
I can't take you seriously.
Harbaugh's on the hot seat.
Their schedule, they've got Army, they've got Wisconsin on the road, they got Penn State on the road, Notre Dame, Michigan State, Ohio State.
A lot of tough games in there.
Yeah, you're going to lose 1 or 2 of those.
Yeah, but if you're Michigan and you're Jim Harbaugh and you've been given all this time and you've got all these players, it's about time you did something with it, man. All right?
Dude, they went 10-3. 10-3.
They got smoked by Ohio State.
There are football programs in this country being led by men who would sacrifice small barnyard animals to go 10-3 right now.
You're held to
13-1.
You are held to a different standard at a program like
How
this.
is 10-3? I don't care what your standard is.
You're not making any sense with the 10-3.
If 10-3 is what you get to every year, but you never actually break through and actually win a Big Ten championship game, your fans are going to be disappointed. I'm just saying.
Okay, what if Michigan goes 10-3? All right, so they were 10-2 headed into the bowl game and then got mollywopped by Florida. Let's say they lose
that word again.
Mollywopped? Big fan of that as an adjective or adverb, whatever it is. Anyway, so let's say in that same bowl game, they beat Florida by a field goal as time expiring, just to make this interesting.
That's a good season. But they
so how is 11-2 a good season and 10-3 is not?
Because 10-3
it's one game.
Getting beat by 30.
I want to issue a correction.
In
I want to
2
issue a
games
correction. I want to issue a correction. Harbaugh's been in Michigan for 4 years.
Okay.
3 seasons he's gone 10-3.
Okay.
Now in 2017 they were 8-5.
Yeah, that's not a good year.
That's not a good year, but he's had 3 double-digit wins. Now, I know we can't answer this question right now on air because it would take a substantial amount of research.
Oh, baby, let's try.
But I want to know.
We got 45
I
minutes.
want to know how many other coaches, past or present, have been feeling the hot seat after reaching double-digit wins 3 out of their first 4 years. Has that ever happened?
I would wager not very many coaches.
A single one.
The only argument that I present here is that I think given the hype level that Harbaugh created when he came into Michigan, the expectation for him was extremely high compared to any other coach, say Ryan Day. If Ryan Day wins 10 games in 3 years, I don't think people were expecting a whole lot when Day got here. People were expecting the world when Jim Harbaugh got here. 10 wins.
Eventually, not right away, though.
Yeah,
but 5 years
I think
in,
you would have had to have been an absolute lunatic to expect Jim Harbaugh to waltz right into Michigan, pick up right where they left off, and go to the national championship.
That's not going to happen.
But this is year 5.
But what about Texas A&M? What about Jimbo? If Jimbo doesn't win an SEC championship in his first 4 years, are you going to be calling for his head like you're calling for Harbaugh's head? And Jimbo's winning 10 games a year?
If he's not beating any big teams, if he's not competing for an SEC championship game, if he's getting beat by 30 in the last couple weeks of the year.
To a team that went 13-1.
And to a team that went 10-3, Florida.
Yeah, but Ohio State still was 13-1.
It's your rival. Okay.
Notre Dame got smacked around in their postseason game. Did they have a bad season?
They made the playoff, though, going undefeated. If
Michigan, they lost 30-3,
but
that was kind of
if Michigan went undefeated and then lost 30-3, I think people were okay with that as a Michigan fan.
How is that okay?
Because you made the playoff as an undefeated team.
If I make the playoff and lose by 27 points, I'm crying on the bus on the ride home.
You know what's better than losing by 30 in the Outback Bowl as a 3-loss team to Florida? Making the playoff and going undefeated.
I disagree. I think if you're going to have to, make the playoff but lose to your rival, I would rather win the rival and not get into the playoff.
Notre Dame.
I don't understand your
Notre
logic.
Dame got smacked around in their postseason.
I don't understand
I think it's the same
your
thing.
logic behind why you think Harbaugh should be on the hot seat.
I think by year 5, if you still can't beat your arch rival, no matter who it is, and you still can't make a Big Ten, he hasn't even made a Big Ten championship game yet in 5 years.
5 years is not a long period of time.
It really isn't.
Nowadays, it is.
How?
Because it's the new age of college football where you got to win now.
Here's the problem for Harbaugh.
Look what happened to Mark Richt.
In my honest opinion, it's not the rivalry games that's the biggest issue. It's his record in the bowl games. The last 3 bowl games have been bad for the Wolverines. The Peach Bowl, they lost. The Outback Bowl, they lost. And the Orange Bowl, they lost. And here's the other problem. Each of the last 3 seasons, Michigan has been in the AP preseason top 15.
Like I said, the expectations.
The expectations are that Michigan will be contending for Big Ten championships, possibly New Year's Six Bowl.
But is that not the expectation that comes with you as being a head coach at Michigan?
That I think here's what I'm saying. Okay, here's what I'm trying to say. The AP preseason rankings and the lack of performance in the bowl games is more of an issue than not being able to beat your rivals. Beating your rivals is important. It definitely is, and it factors. I mean, Dabo, as an interim head coach, only beat South Carolina when he was an interim. He lost every other game.
I think the difference in that is that South Carolina and Clemson are in completely 2 different conferences. Michigan and Ohio State, losing that game keeps you from making that Big Ten championship game.
Yeah.
It's different.
But again, think about Dabo. Okay, let's just look at Dabo. Okay, Dabo is an interim head coach.
Compare Dabo and Jim Harbaugh
just for a second. Dabo was an interim head coach. He lost every game except for South Carolina. End of the season, beat South Carolina. I largely believe that's why he got a chance of actually having the job that next season. But we'll never know. We'd have to ask Dabo that question. But Dabo got that job. He lost 5 straight years to South Carolina. Clemson was obliterated 5 years in a row. South Carolina had their number. It was obvious. We turned the ball over. We couldn't score. We were more talented than they were some years. Some years they were more talented than us. I mean, Clowney, when he was there, they were more talented. Spurrier had a better team. But there were also years where Clemson was equally, if not better, on the field and still found ways to choke. But Dabo's head wasn't called for. I mean, sure, fans were getting uneasy and unsettled with his 0-5 record against South Carolina, but that didn't mean that we were just going to up and fire him.
I'll give you a comparison here. If you want a coach that, he wasn't given as much time at the school that he was at, but a similar program and was under kind of a similar transition period and had a lot of expectations. Jim McElwain at Florida. Won 10 games back-to-back years, was able to win 9 games at Florida in year 3, and then started 3-4 and they fired him right there. I think that's a very similar comparison when you look at what Jim Harbaugh's done at Michigan. Florida's got extreme expectations. They're expected every single year to compete for an SEC championship game, regardless. Michigan's under the same situation. I think if Harbaugh doesn't win this year, I'm just talking about this year because they have a lot coming back.
Well, it's his salary.
Their quarterback's
it's
a senior.
Also how much he's
the
making.
Salary, Harbaugh's the recruiting hype they've been given.
Harbaugh's making $9 million this year. Saban's going to make less than $7 million.
And that's different. I think if this was an interim coach that kind of walked in like, say, Ed Orgeron at LSU. There's a reason that winning 10 games at LSU is looked at a whole lot differently than winning 10 games at Michigan because of the hype that came with Harbaugh, the expectations the entire fan base has, and probably how tired they've been of being beat up by Ohio State every single year. LSU gets it. Alabama's running all of college football. Is Ohio State running all of college football?
Well, I'm thinking that the expectation in Michigan is unwarranted because if you look at like LSU and Florida, those teams have had recent success. Florida, obviously, with Urban Meyer, Tebow, national championships. LSU with a national championship under Nick Saban. Like, Those teams
It's
have
the same in
experienced.
Texas, though. But Texas hasn't won since 05.
But that's still the 21st century. When was the last time Michigan competed for a
How about
national
Notre
championship?
Dame?
With Desmond Howard?
How about Notre Dame?
Notre Dame's just as crazy. Notre
That's
Dame
what I'm
hasn't
saying.
been
But
good
the
in
expectation
years.
is there.
But
Year.
that's what I'm saying. It shouldn't be.
But Brian Kelly had
But
a
it
4-8 season and he wasn't fired, guys.
Yeah.
Just hold on a second. Okay?
Well, I mean, Dabo
'Cause Brian-
lost a Meineke Car Care Bowl in his first
Brian
full year.
Kelly-
He had a losing record.
Dabo's bowl record and his rival record, his first 4 or 5 years was bad. It was bad. But you look at Brian Kelly, who's taken Notre Dame to 2 college football playoffs, and I know we got to cut to a commercial break, so I'll wrap this up. Brian Kelly had that 4-8 season, still didn't get fired. They stuck with him. They got back to the playoff this year. So you just ebb and flow. You just got to feel it out, give a coach a few years. I don't know. We're going to have more to talk about on this topic when we come back from that commercial break that we're about to take right now.
Cars cost less at Travelers Rest at George Coleman Ford, and it's never been more true than February. This month, George Coleman Ford will meet or beat any documented out-the-door price from any upstate dealer. You heard me right. Any new car, truck, SUV, George Coleman Ford will meet or beat any dealer's price. See my friends at George Coleman Ford in Travelers Rest and save big. Applies only to in-stock inventory. Offers within 5 business days. Price matches before applicable rebates.
J. Grady Randolph is hiring. Specializing in flatbed hauling since 1935, JGR has deep roots in the Carolinas and proudly supports the Clemson Tigers. Start your new career today by calling 864-761-4041. J. Grady Randolph offers competitive pay and free family health care coverage. Local and regional positions available. Call 864-761-4041 or get more information online at driveforjgr.com. That's driveforjgr.com.
The month of love is here. If you're not loving your look, maybe it's time to give Urban Nirvana a try. Their professional stylists can make you love looking in the mirror. And guys, if you are looking for the perfect gift for the love of your life, Urban Nirvana has the answer. Log on to urbannirvana.com where you can buy it and print a gift certificate from wherever you are. She'll love it. Salon or spa, there's something to love at Urban Nirvana. Show some love at With Urban Nirvana, McKee Station, or the shops at Green Ridge, online at urbannirvana.com.
I'm a donut nut, I'm a donut nut, I'm a nut for Krispy Kreme.
Hi, I'm Glenn Reese with Krispy Kreme Donut Company in Anderson and Spartanburg. We're open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Drop by for a delicious donut and a cup of coffee. Pick up a box for your business or church meeting. Share them with family and friends during a time of need. Call Spartanburg and Anderson Krispy Kreme.
I'm a donut nut, I'm a donut nut, I'm a nut for Krispy Kreme.
Are you ready to go all in on a car? Granger Nissan knows what car will fit you and your family because they are a leader in the market with competitive inventory. They have everything for everyone. Granger Nissan is a family business, so they know the importance of taking care of the ones we love on the road. You can drive with confidence and ease because Granger Nissan has all new vehicles with a lifetime powertrain warranty. Granger Nissan is not just in the car business, they're in the people business. Stop by Granger Nissan of Anderson on 3510 Clemson Boulevard.
Engineered Sleep is setting the bar high when it comes to President's Day. They're running a massive sale that begins on February 11th and goes until February 18th. You have 1 full week to take advantage of huge savings on Engineered Sleep's most popular mattresses, adjustable beds, and pillows. If it's time for you to get a new mattress, then mark your calendars and go support your local mattress manufacturer. Engineered Sleep Showroom and Factory, 627 Congaree Road in Greenville.
This is Clay, owner of Easley Lawn and Garden and your local Husqvarna dealer. Now is the ideal time to get your Husqvarna riders, mowers, trimmers, and blowers in for preseason maintenance. While you're at it, ask about liquidation programs on last year's Husqvarna equipment, as well as upcoming deals on the new line of homeowner and commercial Husqvarna riders, mowers, trimmers, blowers, and chainsaws. Thanks to you, Easley Lawn and Garden had its best year ever last year. As your local Husqvarna dealer, I, along with my family and staff, look forward to taking care of you for years to come. Take advantage of 0% financing while available with approved credit. See the entire lineup of Husqvarna products available at Easley Lawn and Garden. Husqvarna and Easley Lawn and Garden, a part of the local community for nearly 40 years. Veteran and family owned and operated, 312 South Pendleton Street, Easley. Online at easleylawns.com.
After further review.
Welcome back. Thanks for hanging around. I know it's a little late now, 9:30, but we got half an hour left. 2 segments to go on this episode of AFR. We've been talking, we've got a recap. We've been talking about most valuable college football programs, talked a little bit about apparel deals and facilities around the country. Did talk a little bit about some non-college football playoff teams that maybe have a chance of making it this coming season. Got into a little bit of a heated discussion about, Jim Harbaugh and whether or not winning 10 games a year is a good or bad thing.
It is a good thing. Well, it's kind of a good thing, but it's not what it should be.
Agree to disagree here.
It's a good thing.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's a good
now.
thing. But now we got time for a little trivia. I've heard that Evan has got some trivia questions prepared.
I think I'm going to stump you with at least 2 of these.
How many are there?
There are 3. I have 3 total. This is from a trivia event that I had last week. One of the categories was college football. So I wrote some college football questions that I thought would not be easy to guess the answer, and based on the teams that played that night, I was right. So we'll see if y'all do as well too. Okay. So I wrote them in order from easiest to hardest. So the first one was 1 point, second one was 2 points, third one was 3 points. So they should theoretically get harder.
You've stumped me in the past.
What do I win when I beat him?
Bragging rights, and he'll buy you dinner soon.
Can I make him?
Jay, you get to drive me home.
Yeah, I was gonna say, can I make him walk home?
Yeah, you can make him walk part of the way, and you can just drive real slow next to him.
Stay here till next Monday.
All right. So the first question, this one was for 1 point. The most common mascot in Division I college football.
I want to say Tigers.
I will preface this by saying I gave them a hint. Tigers are number 2.
Ooh.
So
okay.
And a lot of people I think would have put Tigers if I had said that.
Are we talking animals specifically?
Just mascots in general. If you look at all of the Division I college football teams, how many teams have the same mascot? Which one has the most?
I feel like it'd be
I will go
birds. Something with birds.
2 answers.
Okay.
And I can't decide what I want to pick. I'm gonna go with Wildcats.
Wildcats. Okay, that's pretty good guess.
I have a backup one.
Okay. Well, I guess we'll see what Jay has to say, and then we'll see what your backup one is.
I can't think of how I want to frame. I'm trying to think of how many schools have a bird as their mascot.
Well, and keep in mind, if the mascot has an adjective in front of it, like a color, that's still the same mascot. You know what I mean? So if LSU was the purple Tigers and we were the orange Tigers, that's still Tigers. You know what I mean? Okay. Just want to make sure we clarify that.
The fighting Illini or whatever.
That means that there's one out there that includes that. You wouldn't say that then. I have a feeling I know what it is then.
I'm still going to go with the bird one.
You can't just say the bird. You have to specify. The toucans.
I guess I don't want to say Cardinals, but that's not it. That's not it.
All right, my backup one was Bulldogs.
Okay, so you had Wildcats and Bulldogs.
Eagles.
Eagles is what I thought you would come up with. The answer is actually Bulldogs. There are 14 teams that are the Bulldogs.
There's a lot of lower level schools that are Bulldogs.
Like the Citadel is one. South Carolina State, Mississippi State.
So we were talking FCS teams too?
Oh, everything.
The article that I found just said college football. I don't think it was necessarily every level. I'm not sure what they were counting, but most of them were.
That makes sense.
When you said the color thing, I started thinking Knights because of the Golden Knights, and I was like, maybe there's a bunch of lower.
I mostly meant
Knights.
I guess Eagles because there's I think a couple of them maybe out there. So that was because you were like I said, Jay, you were along the right line with the birds.
How many Tigers were there? 12.
I think there were either 12 or 13, and they were definitely 14.
Eagles
Bulldogs.
was 3. Or 4?
I think Eagles are definitely high up there. I have to find that article, pull my list up again, but I do remember Bulldogs having 14
most unique mascot.
Ooh,
UT
you would know this.
San Antonio, the Roadrunners.
The Roadrunners. I
love it.
I like the Tulane Green Wave.
I love the Gauchos.
They have a really cool logo and helmet, alternate color scheme. The Green Wave does.
I like the Gauchos.
What is
UC Santa Barbara, just because of their baseball.
New Mexico State, the Aggies.
Yeah. One of a couple Aggies.
Yeah.
The Lobos. That's just plain New Mexico.
Their
is that
basketball.
Nevada Lobos?
No, they're the Wolfpack. It's New Mexico's the Lobos, New Mexico State's the Aggies.
That's another one I should have guessed is Wolfpack. I didn't think about that.
Yeah, there's really not as many Wolfpack as you would think.
No, you're right. Yeah.
So that one was the easiest one, and you did okay with
What do
that
y'all
one.
think about? Actually, this brings up an interesting point. We could talk about this segment. What do you think about schools that like Miami? They're the Hurricanes, but their mascot's a duck, or like
it's a seagull. That's what it is.
It's a seagull that gets caught in a hurricane.
Get it? Because that kind of makes sense with hurricanes and the beach.
The
you have a
more you
seagull.
know. But like Old Miss. They're now the Land Sharks.
And
But see,
the
that's kind of like
oldest-
Auburn. That like they have the War Eagle thing, but that's
Yeah.
not actually their mascot. They're the
Yeah.
Auburn Tigers.
Yeah.
Just like Ole Miss is still the Rebels.
Alabama, though. Alabama Crimson Tide, they have an elephant mascot. Like, what do you make of that?
I mean, what else? I don't really get the
What is an
elephant
Illini
itself.
then? Like,
Yeah.
what do you do with an Illini mascot?
Isn't an Illini just
Name
somebody
your
from
school
Illinois?
something-
From Illinois.
Name
It's
your
like the
school
Phillies.
something better.
What's that? The Philly Fanatic.
Hey, if you
Like,
graduate from Illinois, you're an Illini alumni.
Is the Tulane mascot an actual green wave?
How am I supposed to know?
Because you know their
How many
mascot.
Tulane games do you think I've taken in?
Yes,
over the
they have a
last couple of years?
pool and they put waves to it in the outside.
Like the elephant, I don't really like. I don't get what that has to do with the Crimson Tide itself, but I get that having a Crimson Tide mascot doesn't.
You know what's
like,
one I've never understood is the Tar Heels. Why they're the Rams.
I don't get Stanford why they have a Christmas tree prancing up and down the sideline.
No, so they're originally Stanford. If I have my history correctly, they were something that related to Native Americans, and it was deemed offensive, so they changed the name to the Cardinal. And it's not supposed to be the bird; it's the tree, because it's like singular.
Cardinal tree? Okay.
It's not plural. If it was like Cardinals, like Louisville,
I mean, I knew it wasn't plural.
It'd be a bird,
Yeah.
but that's why it's a tree. It's
The
'cause
Cornhuskers is the funniest one, though, I think.
Cornhuskers,
by far.
that's a good one.
The
Because you get to wear a
little
corn
red.
cob hat, like on your head.
We're getting a text in that from an 864 number. Miami's mascot is an ibis.
Oh, it is an ibis.
Not a
Yes,
seagull or a
technically.
duck.
You're right.
Like I said, the more you know. Honestly, I thought it was a duck.
That just proves how stupid it is that no one knows what it is. We had 3 different birds that it could be.
Okay,
I've always wondered why Oregon never got like trademark infraction with the Donald Duck, because it literally looks like Donald
That's
Duck.
not the same thing, though.
It's
Yeah,
true,
it's
but like
completely
it's
different.
very similar.
It's a duck. How many different ways you want them to draw a duck? Like it's still going to be a
I don't
duck.
know.
And
Like,
same
it looks
864
very
number
similar, though.
texted in saying Stanford used to be the Indians. So yeah,
Oh, wow.
I do remember they changed their name. I don't know how long it's been.
Can you imagine
but-
Stanford doing the tomahawk chop?
No, because I can't imagine anyone being that obnoxious besides Florida State.
Or the Gators. It's not tomahawk chop, but it's still the same level of obnoxious.
I don't mind the chomp. That
Oh,
was
I
kinda
hate
funny.
it. I like the tomahawk chop.
I don't.
But I
the
hate
tomahawk chop.
the gator
The
chop.
tomahawk chop would be a lot cooler if they didn't do it every 7.5 seconds.
But that's the point. They do
But
it
it's
every
so
7.5
intimidating.
seconds.
No, it's not. It's annoying more than
no, it's
anything.
intimidating.
As a Florida State fan, though, if you were one, like, and you went there, you'd love it.
No, my arm would get tired. Like I would
That's
lose
why you
blood
switch.
flow to my. No, you're only supposed to do it with one hand.
Lose
get
blood flow?
Dude, get a shake
Yeah,
weight.
like if
get
I
a
hold
shake
my
weight,
arm
you'll
at
be
this
okay.
like right angle, like I'm gonna lose blood in my
Well, you're
fingertips
not
from
like
holding it up.
stiff as a board. You just kind
No,
of
but you're still holding. Like the blood doesn't flow
Evan,
upward.
I
your
can get
arm,
my
you know?
dad
All
to
right,
call
I
in and
want
prove you
Bradley.
completely wrong.
Bradley, I want
I
you
don't
to,
care. I don't like it. That's all.
Bradley,
I don't care how you do it.
I want you to tomahawk chop the rest of the show.
We get
And
like a blood pressure cup
by
in
the
here to,
end
like,
of it, I want to see if your bicep is any bigger.
I might just do that, yeah.
All right. Well, my
Build some
second
endurance here.
trivia question,
Man, we got
going all the way back
you
around
so
here.
much right here.
My second trivia question was: there are technically 3 schools that are tied for having produced the most Heisman winners. Name one of them.
Oklahoma,
Man.
right?
Jay answers Oklahoma.
Tied for the most.
Tied for having. There are technically 3 schools that are tied for having produced the most Heisman winners.
Notre Dame.
Name one
Yeah,
of them.
Notre Dame, Oklahoma, USC.
That's 2 out of the 3.
I don't think it's USC.
USC?
I would
USC
go
on a
with-
technicality is not one of them because Reggie
It's gonna-
Bush's 2005 trophy was revoked
It's
or
gonna-
given back.
It's going to be some Ivy League school, isn't it?
No, it's not.
Okay, never mind.
No.
I was gonna say Yale.
USC is now sitting. So the 3 that are tied have all produced 7 Heisman trophies, I should say, not Heisman winners, because that's another kind of technicality. USC technically in the record books now has 6 Heisman trophies because, like I said, Reggie Bush's 2005 one they gave back as part of their violations and infractions.
Florida State?
Nope.
Michigan?
No, but you're getting closer.
What conference?
man.
Give us a hint.
I said Michigan was close, so Big Ten.
Ohio State.
There you go.
Okay. Yeah.
7 Heisman trophies, but only 6 Heisman winners because Archie Griffin won it twice.
Aha. See,
So that
I was thinking Charles Woodson. I was thinking of
Desmond Howard.
I thought
Yeah.
of Chris Winkie at Florida State. Jameis Winston, obviously. Yeah, interesting.
Yeah,
Huh.
so technically the 3 right now are Oklahoma, Ohio State, Notre Dame.
See, I'd wanna
and
know-
USC should be in there too,
Yeah.
but because of, like I said.
I'd be
Reggie
curious what, like, out of those top level programs we looked at revenue-wise, which have never had a Heisman Trophy.
Bush. I bet it's
more than you would think.
Yeah, exactly.
Probably
Yeah.
a fair number.
Yeah, it's like teams that haven't won a Super Bowl. Like, it's a pretty significant amount of teams.
And I'm sure that greatly increases the value of the program.
Oh, yeah.
Winning that Heisman.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt.
All right, my third question was which college football team or school has produced the most NFL draft picks?
Oh, wait. So which school has produced
The most NFL.
Yeah, if you were to cluster NFL draft picks based on their alma mater, which group would be the
it's in
largest?
The SEC, without a doubt.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
I would have thought.
Dude, the SEC this year alone had like 90 people go to the combine.
No. School. He's talking school.
I know, but it's in the SEC.
Yeah, but all time.
It's going to be the SEC.
I thought it would have been Miami.
I will go with
it's
Florida.
Really?
So y'all are both taking Florida teams here. You got Miami and Florida.
Florida was terrible
that
before
being
Steve
said,
Spurrier got there.
Recent history, sure, Florida might be up
was
there.
awful.
True.
Before
But you got to
Spurrier
think.
got there, they hadn't won an
Yeah,
SEC championship.
this was all time.
Am I warm?
If you're in Miami, I mean, yeah, like temperature wise, but as far as your guess, not very.
It's not Alabama.
No, it's not.
There's no way it's Alabama. That's too obvious.
Name me an Alabama player drafted before 2000 who's not Joe Namath or Ken Stabler.
Exactly.
That's a good point.
This
right
is
off the top of your head, that
all-time
is.
number of draft picks.
All time, yeah, not first round, but it's the same school, but all time.
Is it a Power 5 team?
Yeah, of course.
Oh, yeah.
Just
That's
no, it's Yale.
That's to deduct you 10 points right there.
It's
for
the
asking
Citadel,
that.
actually.
Rutgers.
Fun fact, no. It's a Power 5 school for sure.
Michigan.
Power 5 school.
It's not Michigan.
Oh, man.
Michigan's
Notre Dame? No.
Notre Dame's
not a
number
Power
2.
Five
Are they
school.
really?
Notre Dame's Power 5. I mean, like,
No, they're not.
but
they're
like
a- they're a-
technically,
They're
at top
independent.
level, right?
yeah, but they're
Please don't tell
Notre Dame is
anyone that
number
Notre
2?
Dame is a Power 5
but they're
school.
the same category. It's not like they're lower.
It's not like it's BYU. Like,
Yeah, it's not like they're a lower tier. No, Notre Dame was number 2.
Ooh.
But it's close.
Okay. I'm getting closer. I'm trying to look at this list I've got here.
I feel like it's
Yeah.
not a team from the South.
It's not
Ohio
Ohio
State?
State South. It's not Ohio State.
Is it Penn State?
No, it's not Penn State.
They're probably not in the top 20.
Name me a Penn State player not named Saquon Barkley that's been drafted
that's it.
recently.
That's what I'm
Christian
saying, like,
Hackenberg. By the way, fun fact: his brother plays baseball here.
Our history only goes back 15 to 20 years. I mean, I don't know what
Is it Oklahoma?
Penn State was like.
It's
30
not
years ago.
Oklahoma.
Dude, you're killing me here. Like, LSU?
Y'all are
LSU?
glaringly missing
I'm
one.
going through all your BGR papers right here, trying to think.
I
of
mean,
teams.
is it out west?
It's out west.
Is it
Is that USC?
It is USC.
Is
I
it
was going to say that,
Southern
man.
Cal.
I really was.
Southern really?
Cal.
Because if you just think of, I mean, not just not a specific position either. They've had quarterbacks drafted. They've definitely had running backs drafted.
Wide receivers. Yeah.
linemen,
Secondary.
linebackers, defensive. Like they've just had players drafted from all
This
positions.
is all time.
This is all time. They have over 500 NFL draft picks.
Holy cow.
Notre Dame is right behind them. The most updated list I could find was like 498. So they're knocking on the door of 500.
Clemson is like, what, 70 or 80?
Oh, Clemson's way on down the list. Like,
Well, no, I'm saying 70 or 80 total players.
I mean, I guess
I think-
I didn't even scroll down
I
the
think
list
it's
far
less
enough to
than
find
100.
Clemson.
I think it's
Yeah,
less than 100.
Compared, to the other ones. It's not even.
Wow.
close.
All right. So I looked at the most NFL Combine invites by conference for this year alone. I don't know how many total there are. Number 1, you could probably guess.
Alabama.
Well, no, by conference.
Oh, by conference. Oh, then SEC.
SEC with 90.
Mm-hmm.
Second most.
Big 12.
Guess. It's the Big 10. Big
That's
12
what I
was
should've
last, actually.
Really?
Yes, the Big 10 had 53. So there's a 37-person difference between the SEC and the second place. ACC was actually third at 46. Then you had the Pac-12 at 39 and the Big 12 at 33. So I guess once we ran out of offense, there wasn't really much of a need for NFL draft prospects in the conference. So they fell off to the very last place. I don't know. Interesting. 90 players, though, out of the SEC.
That surprises you?
It just means more.
Well, I mean, it just goes to show, like, no matter how much we may knock the SEC for having a down year, they're always going to send NFL prospects. It's insane.
I think people only knock the SEC because, they don't want. They're tired of other fan bases who are not Alabama piggybacking off of the success, and so they just kind of want the whole conference to collapse on
It
themselves.
depends on what you're talking about, though, because if you look at like recent successful NFL players, LSU has a pretty good case to rep the SEC. Like
Georgia,
yeah, I mean they've produced good talent. It's just Alabama's the only one really winning
This is
national
nuts.
championship.
Last year's NFL draft, 53 players were drafted out of the SEC. They had 20 more, and they had 20 in the first 2 rounds, which was more than the next 3 conferences combined in the first 2 rounds. That's like half the draft picks. That's incredible.
Again, though, not too terribly surprised by those numbers.
No. And right now it says the other Power 5 conferences have been gaining ground in the SEC at the very top. Clemson, Ohio State, stand as the teams that have overcome SEC opposition in the college football playoff. But in the FPI, we talked about that pre-show, the FPI.
Yeah.
There's like 10 SEC teams in the top 25. Basically the entire conference.
What do you think would have to happen for the playoff to include 4 SEC teams?
Oh, my God.
Like, Because let's be honest. Let's be honest. Because if there was going to be a playoff that only had teams from one conference, it's most likely to be the SEC.
Of course, sure. Yeah.
But you would have to have a lot go wrong for a lot of other teams.
Well, you'd
right?
have to have two from each division.
Every other conference champion would have to have multiple losses.
Right. And the fourth place team,
independents.
Yeah, you have to have the fourth place team in the SEC be better than the first place team in every other conference.
Mathematically, I don't even know if that's possible.
You know what you have to have?
Scheduling.
It could.
You know what you'd have to have? A lot of non-conference games for you to beat. You'd have to have like every
you just
single.
wouldn't be able to play the other teams that need to go undefeated.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You'd have to have every single top-level SEC team beat like Michigan, Ohio State, Clemson.
And you'd need those 4 teams from the SEC to play the other conference champions in non-conference games and beat all of them.
That's literally what I just said.
Well, I reinforced your point.
So let's say Alabama would be number 1. Just for fun, we'll say LSU would be number 2.
Yeah.
Florida number 3, and this year A&M 4
Georgia.
or Georgia. Okay, Georgia 3.
Two out of each.
I don't give A&M the benefit of the doubt yet.
We'll put A&M at 5.
I think A&M. No, seriously. I think A&M's really close. I think they really are. I think.
But to get through a division with Bama, it's gonna be tough.
And
LSU.
In any other conference, A&M last year would have made their conference championship.
If they were back in the Big 12. Yeah.
No, ACC, Big 10, Big 12. Pac-12, any other conference, A&M would have been a conference
I don't know
championship.
about last year, but this year,
depending on the division.
Yeah, depending on the division.
Because
if they're in the Big Ten East.
Well, if Texas A&M had been in the ACC Atlantic, obviously they're not beating Clemson. They didn't, so they wouldn't have made that. I think they probably could have made it out of whichever Pac-12 division Washington's not in. So the South, I guess. I think Washington would be in the Pac-12 North. So, yeah, I mean, I would say probably more divisions than not, A&M would have made the conference championship last year.
All right, got to take one more quick break. Coming back, we'll have one last segment for you to wrap up this week's show. That's next.
The month of love is here. If you're not loving your look, maybe it's time to give Urban Nirvana a try. Their professional stylists can make you love looking in the mirror. And guys, if you are looking for the perfect gift for the love of your life, Urban Nirvana has the answer. Log on to urbannirvana.com where you can buy it and print a gift certificate from wherever you are. She'll love it. Salon or spa, there's something to love at Urban Nirvana. Show some love at With Urban Nirvana, McBee Station, or the shops at Green Ridge, online at urbannirvana.com.
When seconds count, a coach must have a team that can perform. The Tigers certainly proved that in the national championship game. You can expect the same from Priority One Security's local monitoring station. Break-ins happen in a matter of seconds. Well-trained, highly skilled operators' rapid response makes all the difference between a break-in and an attempted break-in. Trust in local monitoring from Priority One.
See us on the web at priority1security.com. 888-407-SAFE.
Tax refunds are on their way, and we know you want to stretch your money as far as you can. At the Mattress Outlet in Seneca, we want to help. Right now, buy a brand new Beauty Rest or Serta mattress for everyone in the family with discounts up to 70% off our everyday low pricing. And that's not all. Through February, receive an additional 10 to 15% off select Serta models during our Serta clearance sale. Don't miss out on these deals. Open 7 days a week. The Mattress Outlet in Seneca, located in the old Walmart across from Chick-fil-A.
With spring around the corner, Goodyear and the Pendleton Tire Company are kicking savings into high gear. Now through March 31st, get incredible deals on some of our best tires for wet conditions, like the all-weather Goodyear Assurance Weather Ready, built with advanced traction for superior performance on slick roads. Get fresh deals for your wheels with savings up to $200 by rebate when you use your Goodyear credit card. Subject to credit approval. Come see Zach or Joey for complete details or check them out at PendletonTire.com.
Join Walt Deptula's Road Rage at Twin Peaks this Thursday for some awesome food, drinks, and of course the scenic views. Get sports delivered to you like only Walt can do, and enjoy the cold beer and the HD TVs live this Thursday at Twin Peaks on Woodruff Road.
Are you craving a juicy steak cooked just the way you want it? The Blue Heron in Clemson offers only the best selection of meats, sushi, sides, house-made pizza, drinks, and desserts. Join them for happy hour 7 days a week at the downstairs bar, open until midnight. Catch the game on big screen TVs with your friends. 405 College Avenue in Clemson. Call 864-653-3354 for reservations. Visit BlueHeronFood.com for full menu and more information. That's BlueHeronFood.com.
When it's time to replace your roof, there are so many things to consider, from the type of roof you have to the many types and styles of shingles. Gilstrap Roofing understands how each part of our roofing system works together to give you a beautiful and watertight barrier. Don't trust the one thing that really protects your home to just anyone. Gilstrap Roofing has been covering the upstate for 4 generations. Proven, experienced roofers for your home or business. Gilstrap Roofing, 2691232.
Granger Nissan of Anderson is the home of the lifetime warranty. At Granger Nissan, we are all about family, so we are looking for a play ball kid for every Clemson weekend home game. Stop by Granger Nissan of Anderson to register your kid. You don't have to do anything, and nobody's going to pressure you into buying a car. Simply come by and register your kid to stand at home plate and shout, "Play ball." You'll get 4 tickets to the game, and your family and your kid will get an experience they will always remember. Granger Nissan of Anderson, proud partner of the Clemson Tigers. Rely on EnviroMulch for your outdoor project. With all the rain we've had, they can help with rock crush and run along with 57 stone for your erosion, flooding driveway, and water pooling issues. Order online at EnviroMulchOnline.com.
On the whole.
Bradley, who sings this song?
Oh, man. You're quizzing him the whole time, every time now.
Because I think it's bad that he doesn't know some of these. Some I understand, but this one you got
very, very well known.
Queen.
Did you Google that?
Yeah, he did. He did.
I knew that. All right.
We promise we'll have new songs for next week. Actually, we've had some people tweet song selections and song suggestions at us. So if you have a song that you want to hear on next week's show, tweet them at us, at After Review Show. That's us on Twitter.
Don't tweet who sings it, though, because that'll give me something else to quiz Bradley about.
Yes. We want Bradley
I'm not
to be
to
as
study for
clueless
like
as
an
possible.
entire day of like greatest songs of all time.
Welcome to your new music
Bradley,
appreciation class, Bradley.
I'll give you a quick ad here. You know you can get Spotify for $5 a month as a college student.
I can also get family Spotify for premium for free through my family.
Pretty sure the Shazam app is free, too.
Yeah.
Hey, Siri, who sings
I'm going to
this?
have Shazam pulled up every single show from here on out.
Oh, man. All right, well, we got a few minutes left, 12 minutes left in the show. What were we going to tell you? Evan,
I was going to say, I thought it'd be interesting if you were a high school football recruit
yes.
right now. Let's say you were, I guess at this point, you'd probably be a junior in high school, but let's say you're a senior in high school that has the ability to go play football for any team in the country. Who would you pick, excluding Clemson, obviously, because we're biased, I think, and we probably
biased.
Yeah, and even if we weren't, yeah. So maybe we'll take Alabama out of there too, just because.
Take those teams out.
So to a team that has not legitimately competed for a national championship recently, because I'm not necessarily counting Georgia. Basically, not Clemson or Alabama. If you were a high school football recruit, pick your position. I don't really care. You can go play anywhere, but you can't go to Bama or Clemson. Where do you go and why?
I think what I'll do is I'll give you a list of 5 schools.
Do 3, because 5 is
okay,
a lot.
all right, we'll do 3. You know, there's so many great things about a lot of these schools in terms of the atmosphere and the pageantry. I think being able to play at a school like Notre Dame is something that a lot of kids, they still want to check off their bucket list. And there's kids today that are committing to all these different schools like Oklahoma or LSU or Florida or Georgia or Texas or Washington or Michigan just to say that they played at those schools. But I think Notre Dame would be on my list.
Notre Dame would be on my list of places I would definitely not
That's
go.
exactly
and
what
I'll
I was
tell you
about to
why.
say. Interesting. The cold weather.
Yeah, I was going to say the cons for me farly outweigh or significantly because
I got to see Brian
significantly
Kelly's face every single day.
That's
Are you
interesting
kidding me?
because my next choice would have been Penn State. Because I think Penn State's atmosphere is
go there
second
either.
to none.
You want to be cold, don't you?
I mean,
you also don't want to win a national championship anytime soon.
again, I'm talking from a pure pageantry standpoint.
right.
I think it would be.
You sound like a 55-year-old guy talking about where he'd want to
And
play.
I don't know if I had to pick my last school.
You're gonna pick Michigan, aren't you?
I'm trying to think of teams kind of off the grid. I think I'd go somewhere like Army to be able to play in the Army-Navy game.
God, now you sound like a 75-year-old guy.
Because if I have to play an Army-Navy game, that means I either go to West Point or I go to Navy, and something tells me the class rigor there is just a little bit different than Clemson.
just
Either
the-
way, I can't
just
handle
the
it.
school
Can't
rigor,
handle,
like
can't
not even
handle
just
the boot
classes.
camp at 5 a.m.
No, I will very quickly.
A lot of
pass on that
respect,
option.
though. For
If I got family
absolutely.
history
The
there,
service
then maybe.
academies.
No, I wouldn't go to any of those 3 schools.
I would probably go number 1. I'd go to A&M. I really would.
I think that's a pretty good pick.
It's a great place to go.
There's
the
nothing
tradition,
there.
The tradition there is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
But there's nothing there.
There's nothing here.
in Clemson. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
There's a slide.
Yeah,
You
but
got
it's
Jimbo.
getting better.
Jimbo, you're on the rise.
Especially if you're a quarterback playing at A&M right now.
Football is it's huge.
12th man, baby.
12th man, the stadium, the environment. I'd rather take the environment at A&M than I would at Penn State.
No way.
Absolutely.
No
Without a
way.
doubt.
Penn State would only be
Whiteouts
super
at
exciting.
Penn State?
First off,
that's only for
Whiteouts
Ohio
at
State.
Penn State are still second to none. A&M, it may have a big stadium, but the atmosphere's not.
I've been there, dude. I can tell you from personal experience. It's pretty freaking awesome. Number 2 for me would be Oregon. I've always wanted to go to Oregon. That's the one state I've always actually wanted to go to. The facilities out there, you basically live at Nike.
That's interesting, though, because you just picked a school that's big in college football, and Oregon's not a location at all that's big in college football.
Yeah, it's out west. It's a little bit off the grid. But
if they weren't next to Nike, they'd be nothing.
Well, they're next to Nike, though.
Helps me next to Nike.
And
But it helps.
is Oregon State anything?
No.
There
If I'm
you
playing
go.
baseball, I'm going to Oregon State.
That's all I'm saying. The teams that aren't closely tied to Nike.
Number 3 for me, and I guess I'm just picking all schools that are warm, and then it would be cool to go live. Florida. If I'm a quarterback going to play for Dan Mullen, I think that'd be a really good thing to do. You get to live in Florida, which is a perk for 11 months out of the year.
Possibly get suspended.
Possibly maybe
or
get
arrested.
suspended.
Yeah.
Be around some other great athletes. Go do some trick shots with Brody Smith, maybe. And just the environment itself. I think those 3 right there, those are 3 pretty cool places to play. Get to go play in the swamp.
I think it's interesting that I think all 3 of us are about to have a different top 3.
Yeah.
And especially just coming up with this kind of on the fly that none of us are overlapping here. My number 1's LSU.
I was just thinking that. Yeah.
Go Tigers,
Yeah.
baby. Are you kidding me? Coach O, Baton Rouge, and a competitive football program. That's 3 for 3 for me right there. You got the coach,
If you're a
you got the
defensive back,
program, and
yeah.
you got the atmosphere.
Seems a little traitorous. I felt like
I'm sticking with the
Death Valley
Tigers.
would be-
I'm sticking with Death Valley. It's going to be very
Well, it's
similar.
because the other Death Valley wasn't an option.
Are you a night game in Baton Rouge? Are you kidding me?
that would be-
that'd be cool.
That would
Give
be
me
really
those
cool.
goosebumps now. Bring it on. I didn't put as much thought into 2 and 3. 2 would definitely be Washington State because as you know, huge Cougar fan, big Mike Leach fan. I think that would just be, and again, if you're a quarterback, because assuming we can pick our dream position and skill set, I think we're probably going to pick quarterback. Mike Leach is the quarterback whisperer.
That's why I was going to say Oklahoma as a quarterback.
Yeah.
I'd love to go
with
there to play
Lincoln
for
Riley. I think that'd also be a good choice.
Yeah.
But I think Mike Leach, not only an entertaining guy, kind of in that same regard as Dabo, but also a pretty successful guy. He's coached up some pretty good players and had some pretty good success. So that would be my number 2. So LSU, Washington State. And I'm torn on number 3 because part of me wants to say Syracuse, but I know I can't handle a New York winter. But,
Not at all.
but Dino Babers is a cool guy.
You know the Carrier Dome is indoors.
Yeah, but still, I have to walk to class at some point.
I'd rather play in Syracuse than Oregon because Oregon gets cold.
Oregon's cool though, dude. It's
Oregon's
a very cool.
cold.
It's a very cool environment though. I'm a nature guy, so maybe that's just my draw.
Honestly, my number 3, I might mess around and go to Southern Cal.
Yeah.
I'm not going to compete for a national
It'd be
championship
really
anytime
cool to
soon.
play in the Coliseum.
But yeah, I'd be in the Coliseum.
You're in
I'd be in
out
LA.
there.
Yeah, I'd be out west. That would just be a fun, non-football related atmosphere. Plus, like we just talked about in the last segment, with their history of producing NFL draft picks and maybe not necessarily the most talented guys on the college level, but on into the pros, they've produced a lot of Hall of Famers. So I think my chances of being successful at the next level would probably be pretty high if I went to Southern Cal. So I think I'd put them at number 3.
And maybe if I couldn't handle the big environment atmosphere, maybe if I just wanted a place where I could go and just do whatever and really no one's going to care whether I'm really good or really bad. Oklahoma State. Get to go play for Mike Gundy.
That'd be fun.
Throw
too.
the ball around as a quarterback in the Big 12.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think any of us said Michigan or Ohio State, did we?
I would not go play Michigan.
I think it's kind of interesting.
No.
Maybe the history aspect.
Notre Dame's the only team that I would want to play for up in that area.
If you had to pick between Michigan or Ohio State right now,
Michigan.
I think I'd go
Ooh,
Michigan.
I'd probably go Michigan.
Yeah, there's just nothing about Ohio State that I...
Interesting, Bradley. They didn't have a very successful 10-win season, but yet you'd rather go play for them than Ohio State, who just won a Rose Bowl.
Let's see you rationalize that.
What position am I?
whatever
Punter.
position you
You're a
want.
punter.
I'm a
Look
punter.
at you. You're a
Sure,
punter.
I'll go to Michigan.
Hey,
As a punter, you can go anywhere.
He's still over here doing the tomahawk
I don't
chop, and the bicep hasn't gotten any bigger.
The wins aside, Harbaugh would be a really cool coach to play for.
I think so.
I think it'd be really cool. It'd be a great recruiting pitch. That'd be really cool to have him in my living room.
Another good quarterback coach, honestly.
Yeah, I think
Well,
so.
that was part of your decision to pick Washington State.
If I was playing quarterback, probably. If I was playing another position, I'm not sure.
I don't care what position I play.
I think you have to, though. I think the position weighs into where you choose to go. I mean, why else would we label places wide receiver U or DBU?
Yeah.
Like, they produce good quality athletes, especially at that position. If I'm a defensive back, I might go to Florida State, or I might go to LSU again, you know. And running back, I'm definitely going to try to go to an SEC school if I can help it. So if I'm not playing quarterback, Washington State might not be on the table.
Where would you not want to go play?
South Carolina. Easy.
That's pretty.
I don't even have to think about that one.
Their facilities are
Facilities
too
are pretty
nice.
cool.
Their
though.
facilities are
I don't
amazing.
care.
Must admit.
I don't care.
If I had places I would not want to go play,
Tennessee.
I'd rather go to Tennessee. I wouldn't go to Notre Dame. I think I'd put Notre Dame in my top 3 places I wouldn't go. Not right now.
Wisconsin, maybe.
Florida would definitely be in my places not to play.
Oh, Florida State would be in my places not to play right now.
Not
For sure.
State.
Well,
Because A, I don't like Florida State, and B, they need a lot of help right now, and I'm not willing to do that. So that's my top 3.
Georgia.
I go to Georgia.
Georgia and Auburn. If I had to clear the top 5, would be
Auburn.
4 and 5.
Auburn's a good one.
Auburn would be really cool to go play.
That's a good one.
It's a great school. I mean, great environment.
It's very similar to
playing in Jordan
is.
Hare.
It is.
Yeah, that'd be extremely
that one
awesome.
would be cool. But yeah, I would definitely not go to Florida State. I would definitely not go to South Carolina. I probably wouldn't go to Notre Dame.
It'd be kind of cool, actually, to go play in a Mississippi school. Just to go see what it's like down there on game day.
I think Ole Miss would be really cool.
Ole Miss would be really
Ole Miss has
cool.
one of the best tailgating atmospheres in the country. If not the best.
Exactly. If I could go actually tailgate and still play in the game, like I'd love
down
to go
in the
to Ole
Grove,
Miss.
little best of both worlds.
That might actually crack into my top 3. Ole Miss. That's a really good one.
Any FCS schools that you'd want to include in there?
North Dakota State.
That'd be
just so I could win.
FCS.
FCS.
Probably not, because if I have the choice of any school in the country, I'm certainly not going to the
FCS
Citadel.
school?
Yeah.
No offense, Citadel, but
Go hang with Sarah Cooper at Jacksonville State.
yeah, if I could go to Alabama,
you know where I
why
would go
not?
if I was an FCS school? I'd go to Troy. Or
Troy's D1.
Troy's
They're FCS.
They're D1.
They
Yes,
play
they're
Boise
D1,
State.
but
They're in
they're
the
FCS.
No, they're the Sun Belt. FCS is a completely separate thing from D1. It's a different classification of
Maybe
D1.
No, I
James
thought
Madison.
D1 is FBS and FCS.
Well,
No.
Yeah.
Troy's not FCS.
Okay, they may be FBS, but FCS is what I'm thinking.
FCS is kind of like
FCS
between
is still D1, but they're just playing in that.
FCS is like
that playoff.
Montana, like Eastern Washington.
The Citadel, Furman,
James
South Carolina
Madison.
State.
Wofford, all of those schools are FCS level. They play in the playoff at the
Football
end of the year.
championship series.
I'd probably go to James Madison.
Yep.
Really good school.
Oh, James Madison would be good.
Really good football too.
I could.
And they
I
had
could-
game day a few years ago too.
I didn't know
That's
that.
awesome.
How long has Troy been FBS?
Just about 4 or 5.
Okay, this is
6 years.
recent.
I
This
don't
is
know
really
my
recent.
Troy Trojans history that well, but I know they're a D1 school. Pretty sure they're in the Sun Belt.
Because
They
App
almost-
State was FCS.
They're in the
when
same
they beat
conference as App
Michigan.
State.
Well, App State was FCS when they beat Michigan, but
Right.
now they
App
must
State
be
just moved to the
FBS.
FBS like 3 years
Yeah,
ago.
okay, so
They're
this is
more
recent.
recently than
This is
Troy.
recent. This is recent.
Yeah.
All right, well, out of time. 2
That
hours.
flew by.
It did, always does. 2 hours of AFR are in the books, and we appreciate Alex Dodd from the Clemson Insider coming on talking to us tonight. It was great to hear from him. That's it for us, for Bradley, Evan, and myself. We appreciate you tuning in and listening, and we will see you next time.
Safely in the Priority One Studios. We are WCCP, 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 WCCP,